to even figure out how to partially embody that life and lifestyle. I didn't do all this going, I'm going to get money, fame, attention, and be a hero. I said, I'm going to step out into faith, into what's true and what's right, and see what the fuck my power really is and what's working with me. It's inherent hierarchical power and value system. Doesn't matter what everyone else says the power is and the value is. You do this walk and you're guaranteed a certain amount of power and value because it's rare, because it's based in truth, and the world is living a lie predominantly. It's a cause and effect based endeavor. You do this, you get this. You don't do this, you get this. It's been the same from the beginning of time. Culture and society is our enemy in a sense. Not that we have to do war on it, but culture, society, and what it creates is not your friend, and it doesn't benefit you. It takes you away from who and what you truly are and gives you a set of value systems that are not inherently true or valuable. They're just valuable to that society and that culture. You don't even need a cosmic explanation to know I'm going to be a man as it pertains to my apprehension, and I'm not foregoing that for anyone else's coercion and duress. And I'm not a slave of the state. If anything, I'm a child of God, and I'm a servant of that and the truth, and I'm in a covenant with that force or that thing, if you want to call it. It's basically just pure understanding who and what you are versus what you're not here to do. You can ignore it to your own detriment. You all have to continue to serve some vision that's not yours indefinitely, and you don't know when it ends. And by the time it does end, you're going to be too old and broken down and burnt out and tired to even give a fuck. I could do whatever the fuck I want every moment of my day. I'm guaranteed value. I live within my means. I have everything I need and then some, and I'm working toward a goal.
I'm scared of this fallen slave.
And again, to me, the tiger that you don't believe in is the tiger that will eat you, right? You want to sit there and act like it's all going to just be cute and cuddly and go on forever and never consider the obvious common sense cause and effect. How are you living day to day, and what's the source of this beingness? And if you're not going to be the source of that beingness, you're dependent upon someone or something else. That's a fucked up place to be, especially in times of trouble.
Greetings, folks. Greetings, Penile Power. How are you, sir? One moment. Penile Power studied under Marcel Marceau, like Clown College. That's who proliferated the Clown College. He studied the silent art of broadcasting and hand signing.
Would you be against the notion of playing some Marcel Marceau, maybe some W.C. Fields, to introduce some people to your sense of humor and comedy and satire, if you will?
Potentially. Am I going to get hit with? That's the thing.
Right.
I really.
Right. You would think old stats, that would be old, right? Both of them are. That's old news. So you would think probably not. Who would own the rights to it? I don't know. I could be wrong, but.
Yeah, I'm gonna get copyrighted. Penile Power.
You might be right.
And who really cares? You're better than them anyway.
So tell me how I'm over in Jay Dreamer's chat right now, and he's got Tommy Truthful and Paranoid American on, who I've both talked to in the past.
Am I supposed to know who any of those people are?
No, not necessarily. But you got Jeeps over there with a mod wrench, and I'm asking her, hey, why is Jay Dreamers hitting me with a copyright strike when I not only have asked him in the past if it's okay to restream his content, and he said it was cool, but I make it amply easy to reach out to me. My emails on all my streams on the scroll bar. It's usually in the description, or maybe I should put it in the info, in the about info on my channel if it's not there. I think it is though. But yeah, why are you going to hit me for a copyright strike when all that's going to do is bring it more attention to your channel? And you've given me permission.
They're all doing that now. We've been over that. They're all doing that now. where the YouTube gives them a notification and they go, oh, someone's using my stuff and here's the options. And they pick from the options they're given. So that didn't go on as much for the longest time. It's going on more and more. It seems as if YouTube's really interested in letting people know that some people are using their content and then give them options of what to do about it, right? For everyone's safety.
Yeah. So on top of already having two on Triple P, now I have one of those, which I don't think I've ever gotten a copyright strike before.
Well, yeah, you just got to email the person. I had like two of them a couple weeks ago, and I just emailed the individuals involved.
Yeah, that's
I
what I'm going to do.
explained to them what the situation is, and I asked them fairly reasonably to retract the copyright. If they don't do that, then you got to make it a legal claim.
Yeah. So, Jeeps, if you're listening, help me out here. I mean, can you like wake this guy up? He clearly, I don't know. I don't know if he's on something or what, but kind of looks like he is right now.
Other thoughts?
Other thoughts? Interesting OTW stream, and yeah, very interesting. I think certain people should just get their happy ass over here and stop listening, watching, waiting, fucking semi-hating, masturbating, possibly.
Come on, man! Don't do the indirect thing. Just speak about it directly.
All right, here.
Some people. What are you, Clausen?
Someone, I don't know what this means, but from Extos in the chat, but he says De Heliopolis. Now I don't know if he's a heliosexual now, but he said, Monty, wake the hell up. My question to Tarek is, so Monty was this terrible guy and Paul was scared of him and this whole narrative, right? But now you were in his chat, right? And you were like talking to him and cupcaking with him, right? Am I right or wrong, Tarek? I mean, I know you're listening too, so. All right, I'll stop.
Here he goes. You can't get away from these dramas online, can you? Can't get away from these dramatic people and all the soap operas. It's all nonsense. Okay, we've gone over it ad nauseum. We know what the dynamic is. Nothing's changed. All right.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, if Tarek is like, this has become now this is my life. Like they're gonna do a "This Is Your Life" one day. They're gonna have little to no examples of anything I did in broadcasting or show business, and they're just gonna show all these people who have like issues with me and continue to talk about me, and this is what my life has become. I've called in a whole bunch of folks who probably need something I have or understand for themselves. They won't take that, but they will fight and argue, not with me really, just everywhere else but here, or talk about me. So that's where we're at. This is my career in broadcasting. I don't know how to get out of it completely, other than at certain times just not talking about these people. But I do know what you were mentioning. You were mentioning I did call him the pathetic warrior. I'm going to retire that for now, right? Just for now. We'll call him by the proper moniker. The satanic warrior and I had an exchange, fairly productive, some folks might say, fairly reasonable, some folks might say. Only time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second. Is that a Jamaican man? Says Raj Jesse down there. No, wait a second. Just the light here. No, it's not a black Jamaican man. That's Jesse Howe.
What's going on, man?
He's changed his name. He's Raj Jesse Don. What's going on, Jesse?
I'm doing all right. I didn't actually change my name. I was on a panel full of Jamaicans and all that. That's what they nicknamed me, so I just stuck with it.
Okay. So you're painting. Do you ever get on panel and not do chores and housework or run around the city? I've never seen you sitting down for more than a few minutes at a time.
It's called good use of the time.
Hold on. We're going to cut up some chicken. Angeline, we're cutting up chicken. All right.
Angeline.
We got a lot of people to feed. Oh, wait, hold on. We got a sweater here too. Yeah. This is a dangerous sweater. You got to stay away from this sweater because it'll get you. All right. That's your boy, Muhammad there. I don't think that's his real name. Everybody who's Muslim all of a sudden becomes Muhammad. I've learned that.
Well,
So I mean, there he is battling. He's battling, right? That's his hero's journey, battling with that sweater right there. And I think at some point that he's going to become triumphant over that sweater.
That yellow
You
liquid
see what I
got a
do,
Muslim
right?
like,
Penile
whoa.
Power, like we made up today. It was real cuddly with the Zetetic Warrior. So now I need my new Calamangus, as it were. And it might have to be Muhammad. Right? Jesse's no longer pissed off and upset with me for doing the Angeline thing. We're cutting up chicken. You know, he's gotten over it. Me and Zetetic Warrior, we hugged it out this morning. So he's going to be the next one, I guess. And that's probably why Abby doesn't want to come home. She can't stand to see him fight with a sweater every morning. It's embarrassing. Hey, don't laugh at that, Jesse. he almost laughed at that. And yeah, get out of the shot, because you're love and light, and it's for me to be rude and crude and lewd and abrasive, not for you. Your thoughts, anyone?
Lots of people in the world named Muhammad, that's for sure.
Turns out, world's most popular name, Mohammed. I thought it was Nick, John, Jim, Jack. No, it's Mohammed. Turns out there's billions of those folks, and they all take the same name.
Yeah, man.
Wouldn't it be like interesting if Christians did the same thing? If there was like billions of people named Jesus, like we just named ourselves after the main prophet guy.
Well, in Mexico, it's Jesus. They have Jesus everywhere. So when I was in Mexico, they kept on saying, "No, you're Jesus." And I was like, "No, I'm Jesse." They're like, "No, it's Jesus. It's like Jesus." And I'm like, "No, just Jesse."
They're trying to translate it for you. Like, we swear it's Jesus. You got to go back a ways, but it's there. Yeah, it's true. I didn't even really think of that. I guess I'm the idiot, because he points out pretty correctly that if you go to Mexico, which I guess is considered a Christian culture, every other person is named Jesus. But I guess I didn't realize it because it's Jesus. So spelled the same, sounds different. I don't know. I forget what they call that. Something homonym. I don't know what the first part is. Homonym. What are the odds Penile Power knows what that is?
An ad hominem or a homonym?
Is it a homophone, maybe?
Well, that's slightly different, huh?
No, that's the thing that Slow State texts on with his boyfriends. A homophone. I don't know, man. That lesson was a while ago. There's a term for a word that spelled the same, it sounds different, and it is a homophone. Okay. See? I'm on the fucking ball here, man. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Ian Unslaved with the win. All right, what do you want to do, folks? By folks, I mean there's two of you here. Jesse's painting. He's busy. What do you want to do, Penile Power? I've told you 2 weeks ago or months ago, come up with 10 things. Did you come up with any categories yet? Any questions, comments, concerns, narratives, current affairs, historical context, anything?
I mean,
Joe Rogan commentary even?
Written down, but it's I got to get it. It's upstairs. But yeah, that'd be interesting to do. I was wondering if Jesse liked my picture here, but he looks busy. So
Which picture?
You don't see it?
No, I can't. No.
Oh man, I have to make.
Hold on, I got a guy back here that I got to screen. Extra fluoridated. Can I see and hear you?
Oh, not this clown.
You know this person?
They came on my panel once, and they were just like making fart noises, I think, or something, and just being. I don't know who it is. I'm surprised I didn't make them cam up, and it makes me realize, why don't I make everyone cam up? There's even people I like on most levels, and I haven't seen them now that I think about it.
Oh, maybe he just does that over where you are. He's not going to do that here.
Perhaps. But maybe you should make them cam up for a second, just to make sure they're not a AI.
Can I see and hear you? Extra fluoridated. I like the name. I mean, the name is definitely appropriate for what I've seen on these panels. Any chance I could see or hear you, Mr. Extra Fluoridated? Nothing?
It's good stuff.
All right, I'm going to give you like 3 seconds, and then I got to let you go.
Hello.
Anything? Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, is that you?
That's me.
Oh, well, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing. Just hanging.
All right, what do you want to talk about?
Well, whatever. I'm just here to hang out. Add some things where I can.
Right, can I see you just to make sure? You're not going to do anything crazy, are you? Or weird?
No.
All right. Should we trust them, Penal Power?
I mean, to each their own. I have no idea. I don't remember anything bad happening, but yeah.
Yeah, but he won't. Like, why can't I see him? Like, why won't he turn his camera on and show me himself?
That's what I was saying. I
Seems
think
I'm
it's the
having
least.
some trouble.
What now?
At least show a hand, a hand or something.
He's cutting. He's cutting in and out anyway. This isn't going to work, dude. All right.
It's probably AI.
I'm just going to go ahead and make an executive decision. It's not going to work. Cutting in and out back there. I don't know what your deal is. Get it together. All right, fuck it. I guess we'll just move forward. We got the usual docket as always. I come prepared like a Boy Scout. I can't lean on these folks. They got nothing to offer. You guys offer me nothing. Come here every day. I try to be loving and peaceful. Try to be patient. And you guys have offered nothing.
Seriously though, why do you like the three panel layout? I think it sucks, man. But you always choose it, and I wonder why.
What does that mean? What would you prefer?
Like the wide where
you want this?
Oh no, that's. Well, I guess we're in the loop, so I'm trying to get out of the loop. Hence the name.
What, like this? This is what you want?
You don't like that more? Doesn't make more sense.
Not really.
Well, I agree to disagree.
Well, I mean, you're really good at broadcasting, so I might defer to you and what you think.
I'd have to agree. Hours and hours and
I mean,
hours.
this way we get the whole shot of Jesse painting. The other way we only get half. And you can see the other half of my extremely wide body. So that's always good. It's flattering.
I'm telling you, dude, it's the fucking Teflon flakes that you're bragging about.
It's not the Teflon, dude. It's not the Teflon, okay?
All right.
You're still using Teflon?
See?
Yeah, well, listen, you judge me if you want, okay?
Get
people with Teflon around.
It's not judging at all. It's just not the best for your health.
But Uncle Pauly's been known to do the Teflon slide once in a while, all right? Judge me if you will.
See, because I can't.
I came up on Teflon. I told you earlier.
I can't differentiate sometimes at this point, even now. All this time I've been, riding with Paul, so to speak, is that you can't really differentiate sometimes the bit and the non-bit. And so I don't actually know if he still uses Teflon or not. That's the thing. But
and you ain't never gonna know because you ain't coming here. It's the only way you're gonna know is if you get here and you get hit with a Teflon pan. And you'll say he had Teflon on him. You still won't even know if I used it.
Instead of sending you pineal powder, I might have to just send you a nice cast iron pan. And some avocado spray oil.
Listen, bro, I'm gonna level with you, okay? I'm gonna get out of the mode. No bit, non-bit. You can trust whatever I'm gonna say right now.
You're gonna say
I still got Teflon in the mix, right? It's complicated. Still a little Teflon in my life here and there. I'm not gonna lie to you. I never do. I always tell the truth even when I lie. So, I got cast iron. I got all that. Listen, we're moving, okay? Moving. She's getting her life together. I'm getting my life more together. And I know what to do. You ain't telling me nothing I don't know. But like I told you earlier, I came up on Teflon. I made my bones with Teflon. It's who and what I am. It's part of me. I don't forget where I've come from.
You're gonna say Teflon Daddy now? Is that what you're getting?
Teflon Daddy, right?
Teflon Don. Wasn't there someone that named himself Teflon Don?
Right, John Gotti. But I'm not into him. I don't. I don't know. It's not for me. Yeah, man. As long as it's not. You can Teflon a little bit, all right? A little bit. It's like weekend chipping, You do a little powder on the weekends, whatever. It's not making your life unmanageable. You do a little Teflon here and there. Your life's not unmanageable. It's not flaking. What's the problem? Okay? The problem with the Teflon is when it starts flaking. Like I told you, I came up on Teflon flakes. You should see what my mother was cooking in.
I don't think it's just the flakes; it's the fucking material.
Listen,
itself.
Yeah, she died of cancer with my grandmother all in the same year, and potentially the Teflon might have had something to do with that. Okay, but that's what separates the men from the non-men.
Am I polarized? Am I an extremist for just really being at the point where the whole mainstream medical.
You're a victim. You know how many times I
system as
chop
a
up
whole.
Teflon flakes and snort it just to fucking test my system and make sure that I'm where I need to be? You can't handle that. That's
Dude,
why you can't party with me.
I still eat Ben and Jerry's. I'm not fucking holier than thou by any means.
You piece of shit. And you want to talk to me about my fucking choice of pots and pans?
Right.
Those fucking communists.
But hey, I did decent in January. I don't think I had any. So I don't think. I probably did.
All right, where are we going with this? Other than you trying to give me advice on what I should do with my life. I give you advice. You don't give me advice. You don't know that? That's how this broadcast works. It's proper instruction motivates people, not Pineal's instructions motivates people. You're not even motivated. Jack Talcott left the house twice last month. You haven't left yet. That's why he gets more
I am trying to
respect.
break the loop, though. I really do. I really am trying to break the loop. I don't want to be part of the E-loop, as it says there, E-loopy, because you got me cut off, but it still makes sense because it is an E-loop.
Right.
I don't want to, man. You know, Jesse, when I heard how old you were, bro, I was actually pretty shook. I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were maybe a decade earlier, younger.
Yeah, I just turned 50 in October. So my mom took me to Mexico for my 50th, which was pretty nice for us to get out on a trip and spend some time together. And I've always looked younger. So
Someone's ripping on me down there. Trying to.
But I preserved myself in alcohol for so many years.
Yeah. You chopped your hair off?
That's the thing, man. You said you drank alcohol for years?
Yeah, like it excessive lots of alcohol. So I for 22 years didn't really start drinking until I was like 17, 18, and then quit when I was 40. So I just always said was kind of the joke is because I always looked younger all my life. And I always said I've just preserved myself in alcohol for so many years. Keeps me looking young.
Alcohol and good pussy. I'm sure Angelina will agree to that. Huh? Nothing? All right. She's not here.
So I don't know if somebody was
clickbaiting
yesterday or what. I'm not clickbaiting, but trying to be clickbaity, basically trying to.
Oh yeah, I'm doing that right now. Look up there. It says Joe Rogan, Mr. Beast. Well, it does say I'm a slave right in the middle. That's kind of a hint.
Well,
and
I usually don't copy your stream titles to a T when I do the simulcast, but today I did because it was great. So I wish I'm gonna probably upload it with the thumbnail too. That was a good job.
Look, Hank's gonna get everything started up.
There you go.
What's his new name? His new name is Flank. OTW. I think called him Flank by accident, but I like that new name because you're always like going around back of people. So your new name is Flank.
I don't know how to go around back of people. Like do frontal attacks most of the time.
How dare you take off the OTW hat on slow states? Disgusting, decrepit, disheveled panel. No answer for that, huh?
I actually just said I actually refused and got kicked off, and then I just came back in a couple minutes with a different hat. Then I came back again after I took a nap with the hat in the background.
Yeah, well. That fucking I got snafu in my goddamn inbox sending me screenshots of him chatting with you in the back of Slow State's grotesque hovel area.
Yeah, I said I wanted to do a one-on-one with him eventually. So
but I saw the screenshot of him telling you take your hat off, like trying to. This is what I mean. They're all saying I'm power hungry and controlling while they're doing that. They're like bitching you out, like in prison. They're like, take your shoes off, take your hat off. And then you just did it. And I'm like, Hank, why are you letting him tell you to take that hat off when you bought it and you like it? And what's the difference if it says OTW? Like he's over there selling hoodies that say Flow State. He's not even ever in a Flow State. Doesn't even make any sense. OTW is at least OTW, whatever that is.
Yeah. Well, I just do the thing, then they'll forget they asked me, and then it just resets. It's just a scan through the security line. I
can never get a straight answer out of you. It's like a really simple question. Why would you take your hat off for some other man? Because he's hating.
To get through the security line.
All right, whatever. This is going
also,
nowhere.
I lost my change purse last week, so I made 2 more.
What do you think of this newest clip? We used to have this one with Jesse when people would just kind of go crazy and loop in circles. We do this one, which is kind of fun. But my new one is this one, Hank. Oh, Flank, excuse me. What do you think of this one? The sweater fight. He likes that, see? Hank
I
likes
like it,
it.
yes.
All right, we're going to keep that one then. Keep that on file. How are you, Brandon?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I didn't even have to fight my sweater this morning.
Man, that's a
popped
win
it right
there.
on. Yep.
You get it on the right way, too?
Well, yeah. First try, even.
Winning.
It was low light conditions as well. I just want to let you know that. What do you have to offer? What can I offer you?
Man, I've been watching you for a while, and I think I got introduced to you from Crow, and I saw that video about you getting pulled over and going through that process, and it's just awakened me to a whole new journey, man. So super.
Now, would
grateful.
you say that I'm fully a bizarre, crazy person? Because if you meet me on Crow, whatever that means, you hear me there, and then you see me here. Like, how does that work? What's the processing like from your end? I'm always curious about that experience.
Nah, man, you're really level-headed. It's been really interesting. I guess, okay, to speak to that specifically, the podcast was very enlightening. I think you did a great job presenting yourself there, and it brought awareness to some things that I've never even thought of before. So that was a beginning of a new chapter there. But as far as like being introduced to your show, it's been interesting, man. You got a whole host of crazy people that come up on this show, and it gets derailed quickly, but I think you do a good job handling it.
Now, did you ever imagine when you heard me on Crow that it would transition to me showing clips of a grown man fighting with his sweater?
You know, I had an inclination it might come to this, but yeah, you pulled some surprises out of that sleeve, out of that sweater sleeve.
Right. I mean, to be fair, it is a long sleever. They'll sneak up on you. It's hard to wrangle.
Fit up that sleeve.
I'm sorry. This is purely for my own enjoyment. Really, this is why I am selfish. It's true. I'm egotistical. I'm selfish. I'm narcissistic. Who does a broadcast with? He goes, I heard you on Crow 777, and here we are now, and I'm playing clips of this guy fighting a sweater. It's very selfish of me. Excuse me, sir. Let's move on. I really need a producer. I need someone to keep me in line.
You're the producer. You're the
right. I'm everything. That's right, Hank. Thank you for reminding me. I don't know. There's just something about that that imagery. I just can't get enough of it. All right, let's get to some real topics here. Okay, you got any real conversation? Questions, comments, concerns, current events, historical context?
You got a Mr. Beast clip, you said?
No, I don't have any of that. I lied.
Oh, that's fine.
I always tell the truth, even when I lie, right? I never lie and actually try to pass it off. I just go, hey, I lied up there, and there's a reason. You got to understand. Follow me. I'm trying to break into the algorithm.
So you're BD15, right, in the chat?
Oh.
Right, Brandon?
BD15.
I haven't said nothing in the chat.
Oh, you've never commented in the chat?
Nah, it's my first live stream. I typically just watch this on reruns. First time I'm not busy at this time of day.
True.
See, I try to tell you guys, not everyone's a loser failure that sits around the house beating off and watching The Price is Right.
No,
this guy's out and about. He's doing shit. 3/4 of the audience is really after watchers. I should probably start doing the broadcast specifically tailored toward after watchers, but then guys like this show up and tell me I don't need to do that. So he was getting something out of it, even if it wasn't live. How about this? What do you like about what goes on here? What could you do it more of? What could you do without?
I'm not too much of a jokester myself. I take my life pretty seriously, I think, maybe too seriously. But I'm living that off-grid life. I'm trying to get as self-sustainable as possible. Currently up in Colorado, but we bought land in Kentucky. And it's too damn cold up here for me, man. I'm a Texas boy. It's been hard out here. It's not easy to grow food. I don't know if I'm answering your fucking question anymore, actually. Yeah, man, I like the real shit. I like learning about law. I like the spiritual foundation you got going on. and all that. And I think the tough love's good. I think, you know, talking shit and clowning on people who act like children. I think you kind of have this gangster persona. So I think you would, and you're living this life where you're, you know, you're going against a man, if you will. And I think it attracts a lot of the, you know, younger people who are inspired to live like that, but they ain't got the wisdom yet. So I've seen you have to deal with a lot of drama. Some of that shit can get old, but you know, it is what it is, man. Everyone's on at their own place in their journey and everything. But I like the spiritual shit, bro.
Yeah, he likes the
I mean,
humility.
to be clear, I don't have a gangster persona. I'm just Irish and Italian from New York. It's hard to distinguish the difference, but I get what you're saying. There's an outlaw effect going on there because I won't follow ridiculous statute policy and code that's to my own detriment and everyone else's around me. So
yeah,
and I'm sure the way that I speak sometimes and the broken hoe thing and bitch ass motherfucker and all the rest of it. I get what you're saying. There's a street veneer in a sense. There's a cultural veneer. But beyond that, just like you said, beyond the comedy and the fun and games is a real story, a real journey, just like with all of us. So yeah, that's where I probably get the most value in life or on here. But you got to mix it up too. You know, you got to bring something else to the table because if not, it gets boring. It gets old. If not for everybody else, for the individual who's creating, right, or hosting, if you will. So yeah, that's kind of why I do that. And I've always had a sense of humor. You know, I've always kind of loved to laugh and make people laugh. And yeah, I've always, I guess, come up on the cut down game, if you want to call it that, where you just kind of look at people and describe what you see. And if there's some truth there that we can all relate to in a negative sense, we laugh at that, right? And maybe we learn something about ourselves and each other. So, yeah, I get what you're saying with all that. What would you like to get into specifically, if there's anything? Because I know you gave me a broad example of kind of what you're into or what you get value from, but is there anything specific that you kind of feel like you're being led toward or seeking answers for?
Man, I don't know. I guess I'm curious about your journey in a sense. I know you're making the move to Arizona to off grid. You in a permaculture and all that, natural building or anything like that?
Damn, you're gonna dox him like that, bro? You're gonna just dox him out the gate?
Yeah.
He didn't say no.
I'm just straight to the point, man.
Holy fuck.
You know, I'm headed to Alaska. I'm studying permaculture on Alaska. It's not going well, but that's where I am right now. I don't want to dox myself. Yeah, no, I mean, that's already kind of happened, and then I've been moving around in between various undisclosed location. But yeah, that's kind of in the works. It's more of a group endeavor. By that, I mean I've had very little, if nothing, to do with it when it comes to the planning stages. But I have done some growing and, you know, tended to the affairs and basically day-to-day habits, right? Chores, if you will, opportunities. You can look at it as well, because which one of us can say that we wouldn't benefit from learning how to grow better and have a source of clean, nutritious food that potentially tastes good as well? So, yeah, man. I mean, you know, we're all oneself. That's where it just becomes monotonous in a sense, because which one of us doesn't want to love and be loved? Which one of us doesn't want clean air, you know, and clean food? Which one of us doesn't want rights and freedom and certain principles and value systems? So we got to be that and create that. So yeah, at this time, that's authentically, organically part of my journey, because it's part of all of our journey. Getting to a self-sufficient, sustainable, clean life and lifestyle where you like yourself and your life and there's a quality of life and you're able to surrender more in the moment because you're living clean and peacefully and righteously. It's common sense.
Which ain't common though. That's, you know, we went out to Portugal for a little bit and the community lifestyle is abundant out there. There's tons of eco villages and just different types of communities. And it was too far for my wife. My oldest was turning 1 at the time, and she just kind of said she needed to be closer. But we tried a lot of stuff. There's actually one I know you spend a lot of time in Colorado. There's a place up in Loveland, and it's a very established place, but it's more of a retirement community at this point. There's not a lot of growth happening. But man, I think Americans, I'm not trying to like just talk crap about America, but I think we're in our infancy when it comes to a lot of things, and it's been really challenging to find anything. I think community living is the way to go, but I just don't think there's a lot of good options in America. I've checked out like 7 of them, and there was nothing really there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure that it's kind of it can be looked at, I guess, if you choose to, as a perfect storm. Like, America is essentially a beacon for folks who have left their family and their traditions and their culture to amalgamate in some melting pot where we have shared values and political obligations. So, like, this country either has always been or has become the antithesis of community. It's complete corporate motivated fascism. I mean, I guess that's redundant because that's what fascism is, right? Merger of state and corporate power, so much so that the culture and society starts to mirror and emulate those non-values. So yeah, it's extremely difficult at this point to commune with other beings on this land who have been raised up at least 2-3 generations with no community, no real family, no real values or principles. It's basically like animals who are having a collective hallucination, corporately motivated. And then you give them the game and the understanding, and you bring it back to what it once was, that it's obviously going back to, and they look at you with the fluoridated stare and they go, "What's so great about that? It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit odd." I go, "No, weird and odd is what you're doing and how we're living here. Just completely depersonalized and disconnected from our truest beingness." So this is nothing even new. This is not a novel idea. It's been the same track from the beginning of time. There's just 2 worlds here. You're living in one world or the other. And I guess a lot of folks are torn. They're caught between worlds. Their spirit cries out for everything I'm speaking and living, and their sense of self, their ego in and of the world says, not possible, can't have it. So you better come up with some alternative identity to live through. Right? That is the disconnect. That is the schism, I believe, that keeps us from functional communication in the world, and especially on these panels. The same thing folks are drawn to, they rebuke because they don't really believe it's a possibility or a probability.
Yeah, and it's like the fear too, man. We get so much, like, my wife's family has been the biggest detriment to our growth, and it's hindered my wife's ability to like process this because they're just so scared, like the motivation's led through fear, and everything that they think about what we're doing is all like, oh, but what if this, what if that, to the
But
point
what does she say? What does she do? Does she support you and your vision, which is the vision? It's not egocentric. Or does she play both sides and say, well, this is my family and I love them, and let's try to work with their nonsense and dysfunction, right? It's like, this is what being a husband is at some point. Getting a goofy bitch out of her worldly patterns and habits, and potentially having her cut some people off in her life who've always held her back. This is not about narcissistic control and manipulation. This is about recognizing that the majority of time in these situations, the ones closest to you have done the most harm, directly or indirectly. So, that's where we get into those uncomfortable conversations about a man and his inner space and his quote unquote household and that vision and that discipline and all the rest of it. And if you ain't got a woman who's going to walk completely with you and devote to that process and procedure, you got to get rid of her, because she's going to play the middle. And then when it gets testy for her at times, she's going to backbite on you, and she's going to go with what she's always known, the comfortable suffering and dysfunction, right? So I'll never tell somebody what they have to do. I'll never even give anybody an ultimatum or a threat. I'll just tell them what it is and what it's going to be. And then we can walk into it together and you'll see. Right? That's the greatest leader or being of fellowship, is I'm not going to manipulate you, deceive you, do any of that shit. I'm going to tell you what it is, what it's going to be, and then we're going to walk into it. And when it is that, then you're going to have to reconcile that I can see what it is, and I know it for what it is, and I know it for what it's going to be. And if you can't, then you have to kind of get behind me, right? In a sense.
Yeah, 100%. I'll say to answer your question, she's moving in the right direction, but I don't know. We all have our trauma. I don't know a single person in my life that didn't have like a fucked up childhood to some degree, and I think she's had a harder time processing it all, and we've put ourselves in some pretty vulnerable positions. Like we're staying in a little pallet hut in Portugal, so we've lived very primitively and given up a lot of our need, not our needs, but just like what we are used to and everything and what we're comfortable with. So she's definitely moving in the right direction, but there's still things that trigger her still. So the trauma's not fully healed, but yes, we're moving in the right direction for sure.
Well, absolutely, man. Everything's a process. It's a practice. My point is, as long as she has a discernment, especially in times of emotional uncertainty, to see it for what it truly is, rather than what they want it to be or feel it is. Right. So I could say the same thing for me and Jennifer. Are there still times where, the emotional triggers come up? Yeah. But then that's the time where I get to show her there's a different way. So it works for us in a sense till it becomes too much too often for me to not have my own peace. Right. So it's one thing for shit to come up, old habits, old patterns, old ways, old thoughts and feelings and ways of processing. And then, almost immediately the being has to go, oh no, I know what this is. I see what this is, because we know the game now. We know where it comes from, what it is, and then where we need to go with it. So I think that's the most important thing you got to have, especially coming from a woman, is ability to check their emotions, their desires that lead to their suffering every time, and get them to see a vision that is clear for them and you, and walk within that, right? Regardless of the mistakes, because there is no mistakes. It's only painting over it. It's the art of living. It's not the test of living, right? There's tests in the art of living, you could say, but it is an art. So there are no mistakes in art. There's just painting over a better picture.
Yeah, man, 100%.
And yeah, I think that's where we, as long as we avoid the simping and tricking, I think that's where we get the greatest opportunity to show that cosmic father within us. To be able to show a woman, hey, you don't have to do that no more. You don't have to live like that. I ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna be here. Just do what you need to do and surrender the rest in faith. We'll be good. Right? If you can get them on that kind of time and that kind of energy, they're gonna be with you for life, even if it's just in spirit, because they're gonna see the value you have held as a man that their own daddy didn't. You can give them the good understanding and have the patience and the clarity, right? And be able to hold them accountable and not simp and trick on them or ignore them. You're good to go, man. You're going to be that guy in that woman's life.
Yeah, that's really the hardest part, and I'm getting better at it. But if I react to it at all, then I'm going in the wrong direction. I just got to see it for what it is and not get my emotions caught into it. And I got a lot of growth there. I have my shortcomings, but I still I'll get that betrayal kind of feeling, and then sometimes I just kind of lose control of my shit. And I know it's kind of a pussy thing to say, but I do every now and then kind of get caught up in it, even though I know what it is. I can see it from all angles. I can see it for what it is, but yeah, sometimes I get caught up in my own ego.
Yeah, well, it's a practice from both sides, and the more that you get better at doing everything I just said for her, because again, it's oneself on the highest level. You got to practice the same things: emotional control, peace and clarity, responsibility, not reactivity. So that's how she is going to trust you more. That's how she is going to feel safe in life with you more. That is how she's going to respect you more and defer to you more, when she sees that no matter what the fuck goofy shit she's doing and being, it's not going to affect who and what you are, your peace and your purpose. You're going to still be you and do what you do, and you're the rock, right? I think that's part of what a man's formation and purpose is for the women around them to start to realize, oh, this is a little bit something different. I don't have to play the man half the time. I don't have to try to do this, that, and the third. I just need to do what I need to do for myself and for this life, and everything else is going to be good. It's a factory reset in a sense. And again, it doesn't necessarily take for everybody. It would seem to me, with the little experience I have, you could do this shit possibly for years with somebody. And they could say, well, I'm getting it, and we're getting there, and we're getting there. That's the we're getting there, never arrive game, right? It's like, you know who and what you are, you know what you need to do, you know what you need to practice. If you're going to get out of character consistently, well, then maybe you need time away from everyone and everything, including me, right? Because to think that we don't benefit from that, we benefit from socializing. We also benefit from isolation at times, especially if it's self-chosen, because you're basically making the statement to the universe, you're willing to work with you and understand you, which is the most important thing, and love you before you do that with anybody else. So that's something oftentimes I see in modern day relationships, especially, that I think is missing, is time for self. These motherfuckers are all up each other's ass. They're always trying to validate each other and check in with each other. And they never really realize what they're tricking themselves and each other out of. You know, how empowering and inspiring it is to finally get to a position where you could just sit with yourself and love yourself and be at peace. You know how many motherfuckers don't have that? I didn't. And I didn't realize that was the only thing I needed. So if you'd have told me that, I would tell you, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. Like Snafu says, cupcaking. And boy, was I wrong. Right? So, you know, and I think that we all find that to be the case in life through the maturation process and, more importantly, the spiritual awakening process, because age is no barometer of maturation. We see that and know that regularly.
Powerful, man. Yep.
So
I'm
what do
just
you
going
feel
over
from?
the. Go ahead.
What do you feel from what you've noticed? You know, you said you noticed some looping going on, right, and whatnot. Basically, some detraction, so to speak, that goes on a lot on these panels on Paul's channel and otherwise.
Yeah. What do I know? What do I notice from that?
No, I
A
was
lot
gonna
of
ask.
looping does go on here.
Right. Essentially, that's what I was getting at. Do you notice it's always on the same topic, or do you notice anything about it, or do you watch other panels other than Paul's where you notice it, or do you pretty much only watch Paul's as far as panels go?
Nah, I haven't watched any other panels, but I don't know if there's a theme. I think the theme would be people's fragile ego. I think if someone feels threatened by something, they can't accept whatever Paul's saying, then that tends to be the biggest times where people are looping, right? Where they're just like trying to protect something that's broken instead of like fixing it. That's when I see the most looping.
Do you notice there's like people who tend to speak the knowledge, and then there's people who actually are able to apply what they're talking about? How there's kind of a divide there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like to talk about quote unquote knowledge that ain't applied it, right? I think a lot of people in theory can understand a lot of this stuff, but they don't apply it, and they're the quickest to want to protect something. But I mean, I'm not gonna sit and like talk about no one specific, but yeah, I see certain characters that consistently like feel threatened, or at least I perceive them as feeling threatened, and then they tend to kind of go in over over and over and over and all that stuff. So I don't know.
Well, you're noticing what we're all noticing then, so that's good to know.
The thing I notice with that is once the topic gets hot and it gets really good, some beast comes along and just destroys the whole energy in the room.
You know, sometimes I am that beast. Sorry, I'm being a bit too candid here today. Like we all know each other.
I mean, I think we all have the capacity to be that beast, you know. But you know, the other sides of the capacity is to be able to recognize it.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's kind of a dance that goes on here, and you'll start to notice it where you get down to something, like you say, the conversation gets hot, and then someone's got to pick up the ball and run it. You know, like I can't run the ball every play. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's kind of like you got to have someone else or something else to play off of, and I think that's where the controversy, the gossip, and the drama comes in for me. I'm not really attracted to it. I'm not really into it, but I find value in it because I think that there's a way to extract the value out of it through the simulation with the understanding. So I kind of play off of that because, as you see oftentimes on these panels, it's like for whatever reason, folks are intimidated to be on camera. They're intimidated to be in my face on camera. They're intimidated to be with this audience in my face on camera. So I think that that's part of it. But yeah, there's got to be kind of a give and take, a back and forth, right? If not, I got to kind of drive the train. And I'm going to catch shit either way. If I do all the talking, they're going to say, look at him, he's a goat. He don't let anyone else talk. If I stop talking and everyone sits there in silence or don't run the ball, then it gives me kind of little to no choice. And I haven't quite found the groove when it comes to that. But I see glimpses of it at times, right? And I think that that's really the most, in a way, despite whatever we think it should be or what we want it to be, the most organic and authentic. Because it's like there are glimpses of certain things, just like in life, but it's not manufactured, it's not prepackaged, it's not, disingenuous. Right? It's not like a presentment. One of the things I can't stand is like Passio won't do a panel and won't talk to nobody. People like him, right? If you know Mark Passio, if you don't, it doesn't matter. But these people on here, they won't get in the room with anybody and have any real conversations about who and what they are and how they live. But they'll get up there and do 2-hour presentation on all these words and terms and how we all should live. Well, if you know how we should live and you're living it, like the monk said, Xing Hang Yi, you need to show everybody. And even he said, he goes, it's going to sound egotistical, but I believe that I have and am living the way that we need more of right now. If you can say that truthfully for yourself, then you got something going and you should be sharing it and showing it to everybody and with everybody who's willing to. And I don't see that with them. So I'm starting to think that they're all lying to themselves and everyone else. Because if they really had the understanding in the way, they'd be doing nothing but living in it with others or sharing it with others who wanted to walk in that way.
Mark gets heated up just talking to himself, bro. I don't know if he can tolerate people, man. But I do admire his content, bro. I've gotten a lot out of his content. I don't know how he is as a person, but he's got some good shit online.
What's up, Jesse?
I only got 29%. I'm going to be in this bathroom for a little bit. Got to paint the back of the door and stuff. So I don't want to use all my juice on the phone. So when you're on, you're on. And, you do some good work. You ask the guy what you see more of this being on instead of the drama stuff, back and forth, high school stuff. Because, when, like I said, when you're on and you do make an impact in people's lives.
Appreciate that, Jesse. All right, we'll catch you later, brother. Your thoughts, Emmanuel, Peanut Power, Brandon? We got to get to the docket at some point. We may cut it short today as well before the third hour. So I'm just kind of, I don't want to do the whole, there's a lot going on here because it's never really a lot going on. Like you can see, there's nothing going on. But I'm kind of in a way, there's a lot going on, but I'm also kind of where I need to be. And I'm kind of peaceful and I'm excited about the future. So I'm kind of just good being in that, right? And living in that. And that's something I haven't always been used to. So, don't take it personally if there are days or weeks at times where I may, get out of here even quicker than the 3 hours. Because I'd like to do 3 hours or even more, but I find that, as I've said, this metaverse and these panels and this whole thing, this presenting thing, you have to, work with it and have a grounding process and, not forget about yourself and your life. And especially too, when this becomes a livelihood in a sense, when it becomes a source of value in different ways, and you make it an obligation or responsibility, it's like, that's cool, but you got to get back to you and your life and being with yourself and not feeding into this shit all the time and playing into it. I don't try to get down on people when I tell them shit like that. What the fuck are you doing when I see you here and there and all around? I'm trying to speak life into them. What I know about me. You got no business being on here all day, every day. Right. And that even goes for me. I can get on here and get $1 billion fucking dollars if that's the case. It's still not going to change. I don't belong on here all day, every day. Right. And especially if I'm going to be playing into at times the drama and the gossip, as Jesse says, the WWE simulated warfare that goes on in these panels. Yeah, there has to be a mitigating process or procedure or factor. I've learned that. If I didn't know that completely, I've definitely learned that doing what the fuck I do. yeah, man, the more you like yourself, the more you like your life, the more there's opportunities out there and in here, the less you find yourself attracted to places like this. Doesn't even really matter what the variables are. Oh, 1,000 viewers. Oh, $1,000. Yeah, that's something I never thought that I would experience as well. Like being so good with yourself and where you're at that you could walk away from or turn down something or just say, no, I'm good. You know, I'm gonna do that, but not too much extra. Um, so yeah, I think that's part of what makes me me, and I'm no different than anybody else. I'm just kind of real about it at times. I have my ebbs and flows, you know, I have my vicissitudes in a sense, where I just have my authentic journey and kind of walk and growth. I want to believe that, you know, that it's a growing experience where I'm becoming more and more each day who and what I'm meant to be, doing what I'm meant to do, and then not really doing anything extra. Doesn't need to be done, but yeah, man. You want an interesting simulation? Start a broadcast. Start a channel. You know, you'll get everything you need one way or the other. VR slave. Sounds like an interesting moniker there. Can I what are you doing there, VR slave? Can you hear me? What's up with this guy? I don't know, man. I don't trust him. He's up, he's all the way in the back, he's playing with something. See, we're all gun shy up here. VR slave, you can't hear me, you can't see me. I don't know what's up with this guy. Fascinating, brothers and sisters. You see Talcott the other day just completely lose steam in the middle of broadcasting? There was a change that just happened. He almost turned into a werewolf. He got all fucking depressed. Like, I just realized, I'm like, Talcott, you're about 1.5 years late. He goes, I don't know what I'm doing here. In the middle of the broadcast, he just kicked everyone out. He's like, just came to a realization. I don't know what I'm doing here and where this leads to. I go, yeah, it's because you're coming closer to that day to you getting thrown out of that fucking house. You better get down to Wendy's and serve some onion rings. Yeah, I should pull that up. That was interesting, man. That's what you call a moment of clarity. Eureka moment. I've had a few of those on here.
He had an epiphany.
Right. Like the moment you stop telling them something is the moment that they get it. They go, I think I just realized something. I don't know what I'm doing here, where this leads. I go, right. That's what I've been trying to say. You know how frustrating it is to tell people shit years in advance and thinking you're helping them and they hate you for it. And then one day it's their idea. They just finally realize, go, okay, I see what the fun of the mirroring.
Did he cut out for you guys?
See here.
Yeah, he cut out for me momentarily.
Okay.
Shively. I didn't get the message yet though. Okay, Jennifer just finalized. So she's up a couple hundred G's. Gonna be out of debt, and she's gonna have a great life and lifestyle going forward. And no, I won't be living off of her. I'm living for truth, making it such that I don't need to live off of her. No, that's fascinating.
You closed on a sale or something?
Yeah.
Oh.
Let me see. Shively says, I missed an amazing AM. Appreciate all you do, sir. Thank you, Mr. Shively. Yes, it was quite an OTW news broadcast this morning. Quite the exchange. In a positive way, I would say. VR slave, can you wave to me? Wave to me, bud. Wave. I see you back there. He's doing calisthenics now. Hey, can you see me? Can you hear me? Oh, wait, he's VRing.
VR slave. I mean, it's pretty much that.
Okay, well then this is the guy who's on it. He's actually picked a name that makes sense. He's a slave. He's in a VR outfit. He's stumbling around the room, doesn't know where he is.
Those things
you realize that before you put that outfit on, you were already in virtual reality. It's what we call the universe, right? And it looked a lot the same. Like what you're doing there, it's what people do on panel.
Just
people do in this community.
Thousands of people are probably falling asleep with these things on at night. Millions, maybe even. At least thousands, tens of thousands.
Right. So do we leave him there? He's not going to do anything because he'd have done it already, right? People are shifty, man. You got to watch him. He'll pretend to be a VR slave, and then all of a sudden he'll have someone from the next room put something over his video. Someone cutting someone's head off or something. It's strange. No, he's not going to. I think we're good. I kind of like this imagery, too. See if I can add on to this. Let's get a little bit of happy. God, over the time. Yeah. A little bit of get out of your imagination. Yeah, I like that. All right.
Illuminati owl optics in them.
Yeah, get out of your 5D imagination. The happy slave. Happy VR slave. Okay. Let's move forward. Let's get back into our imagination. We got to move forward here. We're going to imagine that the news is going to broadcast truth. Are you ready for that? We're going to imagine that together. Imagine that this wasn't fake news. Well, first we got Grim Hustle, I guess. We're going to imagine a world where the news actually reports the facts. To rule the streets, you need 99% love. Talcott was right all along, right? Talcott's a gangster. Talcott's a gentleman. Talcott will tell you. You want to rule the boardroom, you want to rule the streets, you want to rule the bedroom, you got to have 99% love. Let's get to Russian mob boss. He's going to echo Talcott's sentiment because pretty much everyone on here has been stealing Talcott's whole philosophy and rap from the beginning. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Right.
I have realized this only at an old age. Long live those who love. Hate blurs your view. Hate gives you energy, but takes your control. Hate will distract you from your mission, Grim. Long live those who love. Love is the strongest force in the world. It does not matter if you want to have maximum power and wealth or just a good family. Love will build bigger empires than hate. The wise man from the Hamburg Hells Angels Charter once told me, if you want to rule the street, you need 99% love and 1% violence. Long live those who love. Love your family, your brothers and your Rodina. Also have love for your enemies. That's how it is more pleasurable to destroy them. Love yourself every fucking day. You deserve it. You are still here. Hate is an instrument of the puppet state to distract you. Hate narrows your vision so that you don't see what's going on in the background. Hate is for the distracted, for the manipulated ones, for the losers. Love is the only force of real power in this life. Long live those who love. Be honorable.
Your thoughts, Penal Power and others?
Fascinating presentment with that guy, or AI, as some suspect him to be.
So now there's some suspect that's you. You're saying some have suspected it, and it's no one said that except you.
No, I saw people used to say it in the chat, and it got me thinking. But I don't think it is. But
you're making shit up now. You're doubling down on making shit up. No one's ever said that. I've never seen it. I watch the chat every day, and that's something you would say because everyone's got to be AI. That's not a real human being now. That was AI. That's what you're telling me. Oh no, some folks said it. You were just reporting it.
I'm not conscious X, man. I'm not.
Penal Clausen here today. It's like the third time he said some folks might say, and no one said that. Like, what is that? Why don't you just say I think he's AI? You don't want to hold that bag?
I wouldn't doubt it, but I mean, I'm just looking up the page now. I don't even think I've actually looked at it before. Wow.
Dude, not everything's a grand conspiracy, okay? Some things can just be what the fuck they seem to be.
All right, I'm looking at the last two uploads, and the thumbnail looks pretty. I was joking, but now that I'm looking at it, man, Dude, look
Is
at
he
these
taught?
females.
Your girlfriend is AI. That's AI, okay?
That may or may
But
not
that
be
guy's
true.
not AI. A woman who's going to put up with you and deal with this crap that you do every day, that's AI. Siri. You basically have one option of a woman to date, Siri.
I might say that's the case. I hope it's
Yeah, you got
not.
to cut that out, bro. No woman's going to feel comfortable and safe around you if they think that you're insane and think everything's AI, deep state, conspiracy. Like maybe it's just a Russian guy in a suit talking common sense and honorability. All right, Joseph, you got anything? I don't know what to do with this kid.
Hey, Brandon, how do you like Loveland? Beautiful. I think you said beautiful. I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, it's pretty out there. Definitely where that eco village is, where it's located. You got mountains on each side of you.
Eco Village?
Yeah, there's a place called Sunrise Ranch up there. I don't live in Loveland. That was just a eco village that I explored last year.
Oh, okay. I misheard you. I'm sorry.
All good, all good. But yeah,
In fairness and equity, I propose, since I did live there for a time, that we rename Denver to Hateland. There's going to be a Loveland. There should be a Hateland. And that fits the bill. What is all that noise? What are you doing? Man, Brandon, you disappointed me. Going so well, this guy. All right, let's move forward here. That's my cue. When I start to get feedback and crackling and crazy sounds that sound like I'm in a helicopter, I go, yeah, that's time to move forward. So Iran has a nuke on layaway. It's a good thing I'm in the helicopter because Iran has a nuke on layaway. See? There's the segue. You just have to connect the dots. They're saying there was a comma there. Iran has a nuke on layaway. Let me get this right. They just have to connect the dots. So wait a second. No, wait. We can't really. You guys are really gonna do this again? Like the Iraq thing? Like they got nuclear weapons. We just gotta connect the dots. We think that it's gonna be at the turkey farm, like Bush said, turkey farm mustard gas. And then they started bombing and going to war. And we've been warring ever since for 20 years. So yeah, we're doing it again, folks. I'm gonna go ahead and go out on a limb and say it. So Iran has nukes. We know it. It's happening. We just got to put the pieces together. The only way to do that, obviously, ground invasion. All right. You've seen this hack before. All right, let's get to it. Let's do the Patriot Shuffle and make it look good. All right. Trump's going to be back in office soon.
Iran's proxy forces also launched 3 more attacks on U.S. forces in Syria since the Biden administration started its retaliatory strikes on Friday. One of those attacks killed 6 U.S. allied Kurdish soldiers on a military base where American soldiers are stationed. Joining me right now is former Trump and George W. Bush State Department senior advisor. He's the Center for National Interest, a senior fellow, Christian Whiten. Christian, thanks very much for being
here. This is a guy who you leave your
assess,
children with. You trust this guy, right?
Retaliatory strike since
Yeah.
Friday.
There's something wrong with me. I'm weird. I'm narcissistic. I mean, this guy.
They're obviously not having the effect the president intended. Iran and its proxies are in no way deterred. And it really seems like we're fighting the enemy on their terms. The Iranians are targeting.
Power. What's that creature from Marvel Studios that's made of a rock? He looks like that creature. Rock creature. If he took his hair away.
Like
pretty odd looking.
The reptiles from the V movie.
Right. You know what? I'm starting to see it now.
On energy production and export.
Maybe you're right. There is a grand conspiracy in everything. This guy's a fucking lizard man.
That guy does look like a
bombing
lizard.
to unmanned boats.
He just ate a fly right on the air. Did you see that? You might have blinked and missed it. His tongue came out and everything.
Meridian and time.
Yeah, he's shape-shifting.
Decided to take the fight to us, and we in no way have really made the
You
decision.
can see his lizard eyes.
To deter that, to change that.
Well, what needs to
There
be
goes
done?
a million.
President Trump seems to believe that Iran
There
will have
goes
a
a
nuclear
million.
weapon within the coming months. Does everything change once we know that they are nuclear?
Well, the theory that one of the problems with Iran getting a nuclear weapon is you can no longer theoretically hold them at risk. We tend not to bomb countries that have nuclear arsenals, and they do have enough highly enriched uranium to get to a uranium bomb pretty quickly, like the kind we dropped on Hiroshima, which is much simpler than a plutonium bomb like the one.
We want to just give a salute to all of our men who are part of the Persian resistance,
essentially the Iranians
struggling worldwide in various wars and conflicts.
What we can do is go back to President Trump's.
We stand with Muslim nations and Muslim people,
preventing them, stopping them from exporting oil and selling cheap oil to China, which is filling their coffers. If you look, what's the difference between 2021 January when Trump left office and now? Iran has enriched itself. It's really gained the confidence to go to war with Israel, to take Americans, not just Israelis, Americans being held hostage.
Free to hostages.
Proxies, and literally fighting us throughout the Middle East, in Syria, Iraq, and in the Red Sea. So just the president also needs to look the American people in the eye and explain the strategy, why we're there, what we're doing, and how we're going to get ahead, aside from just, blowing up a few old Boston.
The kid came out of he finally popped through the sweater and he looked like a fucking sewer rat. He's like, what's up with that kid? So I'm gonna go get that kid and bring him over here so we can have a fucking conversation. He needs my help. He doesn't know it. All right, whatever. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm not supposed to be mean today.
I think that
we're doing so well this morning.
I've never actually seen someone that looks like that before. I don't think in my life.
Did you see the look? Like he actually did that on panel and popped through the hole like a capybara, one of those humongous rats with the long hair. I don't know, man. It was just I get this imagery sometimes. I go, this is what my mind does. You know what it's like to be me and have a mind that just pulls up a picture in your head of a sewer rat coming through the tunnel? It's distracting. This is why I could never do anything at school. They'd go, yo, you need some of this methamphetamine because you got ADHD. You can't fucking concentrate on anything. Got all these pictures coming up in your head. All right, I'm venting. You got anything, Emmanuel, Joseph, Brandon, anyone? Help me out here.
I was thinking how it was looking like he was coming out of a very hairy orifice, like he was being born again.
Oh, that's inappropriate. This is a family broadcast. That's why I can't have these guys. You can't take these guys anywhere. What else do I have here? I never got to the Hulk Hogan optics. Snafu's going to like that one. Oh, this is good. FBI director warns U.S. lawmakers that Chinese hackers are trying to take down the U.S. power grid infrastructure. The Chinese hackers. Yeah, they're going to take down the power grid. So we just kind of want to warn everybody, look out for Chinese people. If you see them out and about, okay, see something, say something, report them to your local officials. We might have to have something done. I'm sure it's not like, Billy, Uncle Billy, and Kissinger, and who else? Penal Power. You got the list back there. I know you do.
Definitely not Cyber Polygon being played out. Just like,
right. Let's play a game of who it's definitely not. Go down the list of people. It's definitely not. Let's go around the room. Brandon, who is it definitely not right now that's going to take down the power grid?
Certainly not our own government.
No, absolutely not. They just told you it's the Chinese people. Joseph, you? Who's definitely not going to take down the... Wait, it was you? You're taking the power grid down?
That's you.
That's you. It's okay. You know what? It is me. I'm taking the power grid down. I'm sick of paddling and I need some way out of this. They're going to say I'm a quitter. So I go, hey, I'll take the power grid down. I'll do a Zetetic warrior, go missing for 3 to 6 months, and then I'll turn it back on. We'll act like this never happened. Okay, let's get to that. I want to hear how they're going to lie and bullshit you and predictably program you and prepare you for what they're obviously going to do themselves. That was the joke I was just doing there. You didn't get it. They're obviously going to do it, and they're going to blame it on other people, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Rail systems, among others. This cyber campaign, titled Volt Typhoon, has been inactive since 2021. CCP hackers access computer systems of about 24 critical entities, including in Hawaii and in Guam.
Operation Not the U.S. government is underway, and the Chinese are doing it.
The purpose of the hacking was not to gather intelligence. The purpose was to install malware that, once activated, would disrupt or damage the infrastructure.
They're going to go to the next level at some point with this shit. Go, Operation We Did It to Ourselves is commencing, and it's totally the Chinese doing it right now. We just got the intel. It's called Operation We Did It to Ourselves. The Chinese are doing it. I can't wait for those days. We're almost there, people. The great reveal.
You might ask why. Very simple. To potentially harm us in a time of conflict. PLA strategists openly talk about coordinating missile strikes with cyber attacks as part of its offensive operations. Former CISA Director Brandon Whale stated that, quote, Chinese attempts to compromise critical infrastructure are to prevent the U.S. from being able to project power in Asia or to cause societal chaos inside the United States. This means targeting Americans. This means we could suffer large-scale blackouts in major cities. We could lose access to our cell towers and the internet. We could lose access to clean water and fuel. So, how do we respond? First, we must be clear-eyed about the threat. The CCP's objectives for a cyber attack are not just to impede military readiness. They also seek to target civilian infrastructure to cause political, economic, and social chaos. And in the
Dude, some fucking guy just like walked in here. I'm telling you, you can't do anything nowadays. This is why I'm always venting and complaining. You know, I'm not even complaining. I'm just some guy just walked into the living room where I am. He's like, is this the Airbnb? I go, yeah, but I'm renting it. He's like, oh, okay, bye. Like, what if I'm in here beating my meat, like Penal Power? I'm in here beating my baby meat. I'm luxuriating, and then some fucking old man comes walking in. You can't, nothing works. Nothing operates the way it's supposed. You think you'd have a mechanism to stop that from happening. Like, what if I would have just shot that guy? Now I'm going to prison because Airbnb can't figure out how to rent to one person at a time.
It was China.
Right. Xi Jinping is behind this. He's subverting all of our products and services by implanting incompetent and capable people at every juncture. Something must be done. And that's where Billy comes in.
Always China, though?
Spray him down.
The bath salt, the
Look, now he's sitting in the middle of the road looking at me. Right? Like, yeah, bro, I'm still in here, still rented. You know, you can go ahead and you can take off. I'm sure there's plenty of other ones like out and about where you can. And then they wonder like why, dude, if I told you this, like half a dozen things that have happened this week, I swear people are following me and fucking with me or trying to locate me, or, you know, the universe has it. Like it's a juxtaposition, right? Of like very kind of interesting, amazing, empowering, inspiring, and also just bizarre and weird and synchronistic. You know, movers come yesterday. Like I told you, the guys smoking fentanyl in the back room. They leave. What the fuck? Does shit like this happen to anybody else regularly? I got guys with teardrop face tattoos go, we don't feel comfortable moving the house, so we're leaving. Like the day before we have to close and get everything out. So now I'm, you know, calling up 10 different moving companies to figure out if they're cool with me smoking a blunt and not going to say I'm using opioids. Like, when I used to do heroin, nobody said anything. Now I'm not doing it, and they're accusing me of smoking fentanyl. I'm sorry, Emmanuel, Joseph, Brandon. You shouldn't have to listen to this crap. You really shouldn't have to listen to me vent and complain. But if I had to just look at some old man walk in the middle of the living room and just look at me and ask me if this is the Airbnb and then walk out and then stare at me from the street, you got to hear it and listen to it too and deal with it. Okay?
Hey, I mean, it could be worse. You could have you could be chilling in the living room there, you know, beating your meat, like you say, and all of a sudden a door, like a bookshelf, slides to the right, and out steps the owner.
How you doing?
Yeah,
my name's Chris Hansen. You normally masturbate at the Airbnb? Are you aware this is against policy? Are you aware that it's just gross and unethical? Listen, I always go inside the pants. All right, I'm a fucking classy guy. You know, I'm pretty sophisticated and classy in my own right. If I rent something, I go inside the pants. You know, I'm not just spraying around the room. It's all self-contained. You got a system. Why should anybody else have to deal with that? All right, let's get on here because thank God for the FBI to warn us about all the shit that they're probably going to do to us ahead of time. Right? And it doesn't matter that they blame it on other people. They're pretty much letting you know what they're going to do so you can prepare. And we got to thank them for that.
The PLA's own words, quote, shake the enemy's will to war. Second, we must hunt and destroy malware. We need to discover and destroy all malicious code the CCP is attempting to hide within our networks and our critical infrastructure. In fact, less than 48 hours ago, Reuters reported that the Justice Department and the FBI were authorized to remotely disable aspects of a CCP hacking campaign underway now in order to protect our networks and devices. This is exactly the type of proactive action that we need to take, and we need to work with our partners and allies to do the same. I look forward to hopefully learning more from the witnesses about this particular this counter campaign.
Wait a second. Sarah's down there and she's doing the whole thing that she does where she pretends she's not a filthy animal. It's a great act you're doing down there, Sarah. Right? I love these white women who like they pretend that they're sophisticated and civilized and professional and all the rest of it. It's just so gross.
Looks like Joseph.
I'd love to see what she's doing around that hovel of hers. Like we don't know, right?
Yeah, Joseph was thinking the same thing I was thinking with the Krishnamurti. Guy's name was literally Krishnamurti.
Yeah, this is why these people never have a good time. You could tell by looking at Sarah, she never has a good time in life. She's miserable. She's pretending all the time that everyone else is gross, not her. Everyone else is hypersexual, not her. They love to play these games, right? Everyone else is all these things, not me. That's you.
So, Pineal, if there's a name out there that could help one to free themselves a little bit, Krishnamurti, for example, there's oftentimes a replacement caricature that's achieving an alternative objective, mostly obfuscating that gentleman's name, making it so that when you think about that name, you think about something in the more immediate present. You forget about the past or something even in the near term that has trouble rising above the fold, resulting.
So if you feel that's true, can you cite another example? Because that's actually pretty interesting. And I know I've seen examples of it, especially at the Bang Bang events that they orchestrate. Some might say, yeah. Would you say?
Well, it could be a musician. It could be a philosopher. For example, I'm drawing a blank right now, but musician, philosopher, anybody of importance who might stir the pot, make it so that the narrative is obsolete before it begins. They'll always put that new fake persona above the fold and bury that older persona.
And you're saying it's part of the whole dog and pony show, that the circus, the bread and circus.
Yeah, all the world's a stage. There's nothing new under the sun, that kind of thing.
Well, my example would probably be when William Shakespeare supposedly was the first person to receive the treatments, let's just say, in 2020 or 21, and it was in Coventry, England, which when you think of the word Coventry, it's like COV, entry, like the entry for, you know what I mean? And so, interesting, his name would be William Shakespeare, right?
This might be one. Have you heard of Eckhart Tolle?
Of course.
Who's been seen with Oprah?
Of course. The new Earth Library.
You realize I'm right here, and I've also been seen with Oprah. Did you not see the thumbnail?
Right. But you weren't in Maui, though, I don't think. Were you, Paul?
That is true.
Were you?
All right, I was there, but I painted myself blue like that blueberry woman from the Willy Wonka special. Right? That's why not only it was only me and Oprah's house that survived the Maui situation. You see, you guys don't know about that. You're just looking at me. You don't know about the painting the roof blue thing, do you?
Yeah,
right,
supposedly,
Go ahead, Joseph.
It stops direct energy weapons or reflects direct energy weapons, the blue paint.
Some might say that's.
Some might say, yeah.
Yeah, so along those lines, Hawaii, if you get a breaker box, if you look at the modern day breaker, they are electromagnetic breakers, right? And when you superheat an electromagnetic breaker, what happens to a magnet when it heats up?
It gets weak. It loses its magnetivity.
Exactly. So if you have an upstream event or short, it will cause for that electromagnetic breaker to fail, I believe anyway, and resulting it won't work. Now, older, what are they called? Reed and contactor style of breakers, which are thermal only. Those will actually protect in the event of a thermal event. So when I see Hawaii, when I see other places, I think immediately, well, were they protected? Were those houses protected by an electromagnetic breaker, which doesn't protect against upstream short or heat events? Or are they protected by an old, what some people call old school, Reed and contactor style of breaker, which is a thermal based thing? And so now I see this formula coming with this Krishna, I don't know how to pronounce his name, giving us a little predictive programming. I start to wonder, I put two and two together. I think, okay, like in Paradise, California, when you've got these houses that seem to burn down all by themselves with the trees intact all around them. And people give this narrative like the wind tunnel effect, something like that. But what about something more simple? What about something that's more engineered, like an electromagnetic breaker that fails when it heats, as distinct from a thermal-based Reed and contactor style of breaker that will protect from the thermal event?
Yeah, I mean, also too, like anyone with like a basic understanding of how the world works would understand that, you know, it takes a certain amount of heat and temperature to melt aluminum, and you know, somehow the trees 20 feet from a burning car did not catch fire. That just doesn't add up. There's something that was exciting all the metal in certain things around that area that caused the metal itself to get hot and cause hot spots in certain areas. Because how is it that the whole house burns down but the lawn is green?
Is it possible there was a jet fuel spill somewhere in the area? Sorry, that's lowbrow. Continue.
I get the reference.
I mean, yeah, it's, you know, same thing with Hawaii. They say that the blue reflects some type of spectrum of light, and they're using some type of light or something to start these events. But,
Yeah,
you know,
I've
we can
heard
see
that
what they're doing.
narrative, but I have to wonder, why is that narrative made it so far? Why is everybody, well, not everyone, but why have a lot of people heard that narrative, and why does it seem just a little off base, a little far fetched? You know, it's going to be something more simple, like I had mentioned, that electromagnetic breaker failing when a thermal event occurs.
I mean, you got a good point on that one. I know what you're talking about with those kinds of circuit breakers.
Yeah, and that whole industry, you know, it seems like it's just a big giant antitrust thing in general. You know, you've got those boxes that nobody can see. There's a barrier to entry, for example. If you want to get your product UL listed, you've got to go through those fiery hoops. You got to pay the thousands of dollars. You've got to shake the right hands, and even then, you probably still won't get your UL listing. So there's an outfit I'll name drop called Genetry Solar that very competent crew. They put together some awesome inverters for off grid, and they are denied that UL listing for no particular reason. I think that they know exactly what they're doing.
I find it interesting too that before all that happened, there was a lot of, like, you know, the locals there they were battling with the richer people that had moved in and were trying to take over that island about, you know, property rights. And you know, there was land that had to do with burials, and the people didn't want to give up. So, you know, what do? We set the land on fire, and then we just burn them out, you know, and we blame it on some freaking nature event. And all the rich people's houses are untouched, but all the poor people's houses burned to a crisp. So I see right all past that. So we see what's going on there.
Sometimes I think what's going on is so obvious that it's easy to, when you've been down, for lack of a better term, rabbit holes for a certain period of time, you start to just think that the narrative that you're considering most strongly in your gut is potentially not real, like the pizza optics from years ago and the Jeffrey optics and, you know, the Isaac Cappy, whether or not that was true. But the same with this, with what you guys are talking about, with the blue everything. and just it being
Oh no,
popular
that
in
definitely
areas.
all happened. I mean, the Elefantis guy was clearly a creep.
His
The social
Instagram.
media, the pictures on the wall. I mean, it's circumstantial evidence, but it all kind of adds up, right? I mean, you could take one look at the guy and tell he's a fucking creep.
Yeah, his Instagram pretty much.
I don't think there's much doubt about, at least in certain circles, about the generalizations, even the motives. But the devil is in the details.
Holy shit, double Paul.
And sometimes you just gotta like step back, like just take a good 3 steps back from it all and just take in the bigger picture. And it becomes a little bit clearer what's going on. If you get too caught up in the details, oh, but this and all but that, you're just gonna get lost in the sauce. You just have to step back, stop listening too much to what this network is saying and that network is saying. Just gather your bits of basic information and just draw a conclusion from there. Don't get too caught up in the details because it's all propaganda at the end of the day.
I thought you were going to say,
folks in the truth or quote unquote community have stopped at the point of realizing that there's a conspiracy afoot. It's called the universe. So it's like, yeah, there's something moving in order in a certain direction, and there are players in that simulation. So it's like, now you got to do and be, right? And that's what I think is, if I were to have to say, is the major quote unquote problem with these non-communities, is folks think that they have the answers because they figured something out about who's doing what. You still haven't figured out the answers for what you're going to do and be in this life till the day you die. That's going to be a benefit to you and everyone else. That should be where all the time, energy, and attention goes for the most part. After a certain point, once you know, you know. Now, what are you going to do and be? If not, then creeps like Elefantis, who are weak and cowardly, are going to run your life somehow. Do you want to be like that? Do you want to live like that as a man?
Sometimes I get into these conversations with my dad. We go on for hours talking about all the crazy stuff in the world. But at the end of the day, he tells me, tomorrow, you still got to wake up. You got to go to work. Don't stop working. Don't give up whatever it is you're doing to entertain these ideas. Just keep doing what you're doing for yourself, Be aware, okay, but, some people start, I don't know, getting a little too involved in the he said, she said, and it's not really directly related to their reality anyways. When you look at their personal lives, it's like, where I don't see any of this going on around you. Why are you so concerned? It's kind of nonsensical at that point. Anybody sharing that thought? Maybe, I don't know.
I know for myself, when I first went down that quote unquote truther path, I got paralyzed by that shit. It was too overwhelming for me. And it went through like this whole dark night of the soul process. And I'm at the point now where I just know the answers to create the world I seek out. And I really don't know a lot of the topics y'all are talking about at this point, because there's too much damn work to do, like starting an off-grid lifestyle. But man, I tell you, there's some weird shit in this world. I know that, but man, it's too heavy at times if you just focus on that.
Yeah, there's a principle that I call, or that has been called, the appeal to consequences fallacy. You think you're so small, you think you're so isolated, but I think closer to the truth is that you're more a part of a fractal, and what you do can span out in tiny little ways in faraway places that you never even thought was possible. So it's important not to get caught up in that appeal to consequences fallacy where you think you can't make a difference.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to call their imagination, their creation into existence by hypnotizing everybody to believe that this is what's going on. It's like people don't want alien invasions or war or things like that. It's just they're creating something so that people believe it and go along with it. When you really, like I said, you really don't see it going on around you in your direct vicinity. It may be happening. There may be rumors of wars, just like the Bible says. You'll hear rumors of wars, but I until your boots on the ground and you see it for yourself, and then when your boots on the ground and you do see it for yourself, well, then that's a whole other discussion to be had altogether.
Hey, Emmanuel, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, yeah, I probably got some lag. I'm just on the mobile real quick. But yeah, I mean, you guys continue. I don't want to interrupt. I just want to check the audio.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for example, like I don't mean to brag or I don't mean to boast, but I was in the service, and when I finally got boots on the ground, I realized what the hell is really going on here. And like they tell you, we're trying to win the hearts and minds of the people. When you drive through a neighborhood and they're banging cans together because the water went out, it's like, well, we're trying to win the hearts and minds of these people. When are we going to get their water back on? We just blew up their infrastructure. How are we supposed? None of this makes sense. I worked finance, and we had a bazaar that operated there 3 days out of the week, and we sold anything you could imagine. Well, the local nationals sold anything you could imagine pirated for Cash American. And then finance, the basis to my mission as a finance specialist was to maintain a barrier between foreign and domestic, and there was none there. When you start talking about it, that's when you find yourself outside the wire getting shot at. And you try to take your position as a soldier seriously, as someone who's trying to do something, a service for whatever, something thinkable. But when you get back, you're like, I hated when people stopped me in the airports. Can I thank you for your service? If you knew what you were thanking me for, you wouldn't be thanking me. And there's like Americans live in this bubble, like, oh yeah, there's war happening out there, and these young boys are fighting for our free. No, we're not. We're not. And I can tell you from experience, I've seen the money, I've seen where it goes, and all they do is hide it with the security clearance. They're not doing anything in the best interest of anybody. They're doing it in their own best interest, in the industrial military complex's best interest. They're not trying to win the hearts and minds of any nation.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost. Go ahead.
Have you read that book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman? Not to be confused with the revised edition, but the original.
I've heard that book paraphrased several times. I haven't read it myself, but I'm familiar with that book. Yes.
Yeah, I haven't read it since I was putzing around Europe on the light rail, probably like 15 years ago now. But at the time, it made my stomach turn because I realized, just from the narrative that it presented, that when you, for example, you build an airport in a country that has no business with a multi-billion-dollar facility like an international airport, when a smaller airport would work, they go in, they know that airport is never going to pay for itself. The country's never going to be able to pay for it. And so it's essentially, just as the name of the book implies, it's a hit on the local indigenous people, or what have you, the local populace, in order to force them to empty their wallets with people who are higher up, thinking that they're going to conveying, I should say, that they're going to give something to the people, but it's a taking.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got news for you. They're doing the same thing to their own people.
Yeah, well,
if you think the economic hitmen aren't running the asylum here, it's obvious that they are. What do you think the last 3 years was about?
It's been a long time, but I think that's actually where the book finishes up. It says, once you run out of places to build airports or other infrastructure, it has to turn on its own people, and that's sort of, I think, maybe what we're seeing of late.
Yeah,
this has all been prophesied, man. It's all been forecasted. The founders told us we were going to get turned on 250 years, and we're coming up on it shortly. We're going to be turned on from within, and it's already evident. To the conscious and aware folks, it's already evident where we're at and where it's going. And to the rest of the slaves, they're only going to wake up once they're there. It's no different than the Holocaust or any of these other historical events that we read about that have been kind of overly sensationalized to the point where it doesn't hit home. Like, we don't actually see that we're living in a Fourth Reich right now. It's already happened.
We got a reminder in the 80s, 85-ish, you know, from some Russian guy called Yuri Bezmenov. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of him, but you know, whatever he spoke about in the 80s is playing out to a T today. And he said it's not Russians, it's you know, it's some type of military industrial complex that's doing it to its own people. You know, America's going to be ideologically subverted. It already has. The people are, you know, they've been demoralized for more than the necessary, there it is, the necessary period of time. So you have a nation full of nothing but a bunch of useless idiots that you could just sway public opinion with so easily and drive a country into I don't know, it was one of the 4 stages that he said. I think it was you know, you got demoralization, destabilization, normalization, and some other one there, but it's not a good path, you know. And the only way people will wake up. Go ahead, play it.
Before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There is nothing to do with espionage. I know that espionage intelligence gathering looks more romantic. It sells more deodorants through the advertising, probably. That's why your Hollywood producers are so crazy about James Bond type of thrillers. But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process, which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country.
Right, and that's exactly what we have on these panels over and over again, where I'm speaking the obvious, self-evident, common sense conclusions and solutions for who and what we need to be. Better yet, have shown that and lived it and can tell you the experience, and you can read it for yourself. They can't come to that conclusion. We can't simultaneously apprehend, apparently, who we need to be and what we need to do. So the ideological subversion has worked just perfectly here, because I have my own fellow Americans, countrymen and women, fighting and screaming and yelling at me for simply putting forth what at one time would have been considered common sense. There would have been no other way to do things. So, I mean, we're already there. You know, the mind and heart control is not only real, it's ubiquitous. You have to look far and wide to find someone who isn't ideologically subverted. Your thoughts, tribal creature? I've noticed that you've decided to appear here today.
Yeah, I see you got a good panel going, and I had some time. I had to join in on the conversation, so appreciate the link. I agree 100%. I think at this point it's kind of too late. There's really no escaping the system. It's not going to allow anyone to meaningfully escape in any way. So it falls upon us to really learn how to use the system to our advantage, just like we had to learn to manipulate nature to our advantage so we wouldn't be crushed by acts of God. Now we're dealing with devils in the detail, but it's the same struggle. It's just a different one for a different age.
You know, one of the measuring factors for me is
it's a great brain.
Yeah, one of the measuring factors for me, and Yuri Bezmenov will mention it, is that no matter how much information, like valid information, you give these useful idiots, they're done, they're cooked. There's no unscrewing them. You have to start with just raising a new generation of properly educated, properly raised Americans, you know, that support the true American ideology. Not this.
Now you're onto it. And that's why I've been trying to get these patriot wives to come forward more and more so I can inseminate them and bring about a whole new race of white gorilla-like creatures.
That's right.
To
That's right.
be prosperous, empowered.
Washing process, which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see, most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people have been programmed and, as you say, in place. And
this is fascinating. What's the reason for telling someone like me not to procreate? You, as a slave, would be way better off. Like, just imagine what he just said. If I had, like, if I could just spread my seed far and wide and replicate millions of white gorilla creatures who understand the difference between God's law, common sense, and fascism, aka communism, collectivism. It all winds up the same way, right? Let's not kid ourselves. So different ways of describing the same phenomena. So yeah, that always kind of interests me, right? Like who this person is, what they look like, how they live, and who they think should be doing all the procreation, right? I would be interested to interact with this person if they're open to it. Come on up and what is that now? What is that?
They probably look like their avatar.
I didn't even notice that. It's weird because I thought that I would think we would be aligned. You got to mute up there if you don't have a headset. I think it's Brandon. But yeah, I would think we would be aligned since you have the Larry Pulitz Silverstein thing going on. Like, I don't know. Whatever. You go ahead. You procreate. Do what you need to do. I'm sure everything will get better. I'm sure you're onto something, Mr. Clown person down there. You've got some answers. You've got some solutions. You got some real world experience that we can lean on. So you get it done. All right. I don't really have the energy to procreate enough women to get that done anyway. I mean, they're there. They want it. They need it. But I just don't have the energy nowadays. Right? I'm broadcasting. That's what I put my time and energy attention.
Who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept. Mm-hmm. These are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents.
Yes.
Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In
Not
future, these people
anymore.
will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years, actually it's overfulfilled, because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically, America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, it doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. What matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world, that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda.
That's probably where we're at now, don't you think, Emmanuel? Normalization, the new normal, where they start to normalize with the new way of living that at one time would have been completely insane.
Listen, every time something new happened, with the whole virus, all that crap, because I seen this years ago, when I was like, he told us, Yuri told us, because at first I thought what most people, he's just a Russian spy. Of course he's telling you all this. But when you look into his history and what he was really about, the man was telling you, and it's just look around you. If you, like he said, if you take the bananas out your ears and you shut the fucking TV off and just think for yourself for a minute, you'll say, holy shit, I see where we're at now.
No, you're the idiot because you don't realize that Yuri's an idiot because no one knows him because he is not as smart as Prince and he didn't make many hit songs, let alone one, in order for people to know who and what he is, right? If he would have made a song, Little Red Beret, people would know of him and he'd be able to reach the average slave and tell him that they were a slave. But if you don't have a hit single like Little Red Beret, no one's listening.
Yeah, that's the sad part.
You just don't get it, do you, Emmanuel? How the real world works?
Maybe I don't know. I mean, I might be coming to get it, but not 100%,
This is why you didn't do well with the military, right? You don't follow orders too well, and you go to like thinking your own thoughts frequently.
I was constantly
we don't have a place for that.
No, I know too much for my own good, they would say.
How many fingers, Emmanuel?
As many as you say.
Yeah, so Yuri's got an interesting, almost prophetic point of view, but I comes to mind, once a KGB agent, always a KGB agent. So I have to think, what's his angle, perhaps? Maybe the angle is there is no hope. You should just bend over to the despair. And as before,
hold on, I got to stop you, Joseph, because I just did it again. This is why I'm the god of all media. I've proven once again, and it wasn't hard, that Sarah is a moron. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead. Can we have a round of applause for that on the panel? Can we get that? You guys open to that? Not open to that, are you? Okay, and this is why I have to. No, it's okay. I have a live audience. All right, live audience is here for that reason. Yeah, thank you, live audience. Sarah, you're a complete moron. You can't even observe or understand when I'm being sarcastic. And that's why you constantly find yourself giving other people advice who are smarter than you and doing better than you, because you don't know what's going on in any room at any time. So work on that, please. Okay. What the fuck, Paul? His advice to stop watching the propaganda and think for yourself is spot on. Okay. I should have just said, yeah, you're right, Emmanuel. Yep. Spot on. You're right. That's true. Doing a bit of a bit non-bit there. She didn't catch it. They never do. And wars and legal secrets, okay? That's what I need to stick with. The hard facts, the real shit. And wars and legal secrets. She likes that. She's a fan of that.
It goes one step further than think for yourself. The next step, that's just the stone Buddha, right? You've achieved some level of awakeness to this. But then what good are you if you're just a stone Buddha enjoying yourself? There's a fourth estate, which is another item that's below the fold right now. The fourth estate is the media, right? Following that, there's also the fifth estate, which is establishments such as Paul's. And there's even the sixth estate, which is just everyday people dispersing information, accurate, factual, logical, rational information. And so going back to that appeal to consequences fallacy, you do matter, you do make a difference. You shouldn't be that stone Buddha. You should disseminate logical information and try to refrain too much from that appeal to emotion in the process, in my opinion.
Yeah, but that
Sarah,
process
just hold on a second, tribal creature. Sarah's down there again. She's chirping. She's my newest project, and it's working. She's saying that my voice requires some inflection for her to understand its sarcasm. Do I even need to say anything? Okay, sorry. Continue.
Yeah, that process of logic and reasoning, it's a learned process, and to assume that people can just intuitively do it is a stretch. The thing is that it's quite often hijacked and taken over by others with intent of keeping people in a more simplistic way of thinking. That makes it more easily controllable. And as you see, that they've dumbed down the system so much that we're not looking at high levels of complexity to the level that's really going to be beneficial to us in this modern day. Instead, they have people believing, nonsense that just keeps them preoccupied with busy work and such. It really doesn't serve the purpose. It just dissipates your energy and leaves you open for manipulation, because now you appear harmless to the ones that are really running the show, so to speak.
So
right, I have 1,000 pounds of gold bullion in my backyard.
Good job.
Thank you.
So Tribe, line upon line, precept upon precept. How did you learn something? You went through it line by line, precept by precept, started with the foundation, fundamentals. As Descartes would say, you have to throw away everything on the table of knowledge and start over, right? And then you build your foundation. You give a little lesson each day, what you know. And as Paul would say, I believe Paul would say, you don't assume that you know everything. You've got something to learn also from everyone else, But at the end of the day, if you throw away the table of knowledge, you start with the foundation, you build your puzzle pieces for people one day at a time. Eventually, that sixth estate, which is just you and me dispersing accurate, logical information, eventually always causes the downfall of these what you might call an evil empires.
I gotta thank Travis T. He sends me a message, and it is 1 period, 1 dot. Thank you, Travis, for your dot and your contribution. Much appreciated, sir. You're a blessing. Continue, tribal creature. I heard you mumbling there.
Not to judge evil or good in anyone's intent here. I'm just calling out the facts for what they are. Is that a lot of people are kept in a more simplistic system that makes them more harmless to the ones that really are, at the levers of society. I'll give one example. Just if you want to talk about foundations, you have to really kind of use your imagination to take yourself back in time. You got to take yourself back to the time when their first, the colonies here were first, on the land in America. And to be on the land here, as opposed to being in dirty Britain, this little tiny island out in Europe, with all the kings and people, everyone fiefdoms and people just kicking dirt and rats all over the place. It was just a breath of fresh air to have that open land, that open opportunities. And it struck them hard, especially having this knowledge of the Enlightenment, which broke apart all the false precepts of the Dark Ages that they had just left behind. So in that new world, they found, old truths to be able to be grasped again. And they figured if we don't do something now for posterity, which is us, then it's all for really nothing because it'll be gone in one generation. So
hold on, tribal creature. This is great because you guys are describing what's actually going on right now. And then I pop in every so often to reveal that again. This is the thing, Sarah. I hate to break it to you. There's a whole bunch of shit that's obvious to the rest of us that to people like you is not so obvious. And even if explained, wouldn't be understood. So that's the thing. You're constantly trying to make a point when you are the punchline. You do this like a lot of places, a lot of times, right? So it was obvious to those who can see and hear and feel, and it was not so obvious to the blind who are children of the lie, who live without sight, without feeling, and without proper hearing. Right. So again, if you need me to inflect any more than I did for you to know sarcasm when you hear it, you are lacking in discernment. So don't presume that everyone else is lacking the same way in the same amount of discernment as you. There's your first mistake, like all the people you sit with every day on those other panels. You all presume that you know what you see is real and that what you're saying you're seeing makes sense. You also presume everyone else sees what you see and lives how you live. They don't. So how many more times do you and the folks who sit around you have to be walking examples of a simulation of lack of self-awareness and awareness of others? Like, do we need to take a poll on how many people really thought I was attacking Emmanuel and standing up for slavery and promoting it? Why was it why was it obvious to him? Like, did you not notice he was the one you were speaking about, Emmanuel, and he just kind of rolled with it and then kept going? He didn't feel attacked. He knew what was going on. So why was it obvious to him and not you, even though you both heard the same voice with the same words and the same inflection? You can't see the game that's going on here? Your thoughts, Emmanuel? Person I just attacked before?
No, people got to learn to challenge presentments. We are just accepting presentments for face value all the time, So it's a learning process. Some of us, we challenge presentments in silly ways, right? And
is any of this true? Did you look like the dude who was appeasing the leader and just took it?
No, I don't think she's been here long enough to understand. That's why.
No, she's been here a while. She's not capable of understanding. She's too busy projecting. She wonders why no one will listen to her, and she can't help anyone because she hasn't helped herself yet.
Oh, then she has some growth to
right. She's projecting onto you the thing that's in her and all the haters she hangs with every day, that I'm the leader and everyone's cucking to me and submitting to me. She's also a coward because she can't come up here and speak. But she can go everywhere else and make comments about me and other people and diagnosis about me and other people when she's in a bizarre, twisted relationship with someone who she says is mind controlled by the U.S. government. You got personality disorder. You got issues with your awareness of self and others. You got a discernment problem. What does any of this matter? Here goes the deflections now. They're all the same person. This is literally the third time I've been here and the second time I've stopped by for 5 minutes. How does that relate to anything that just went on or what I've said? More narcissistic deflections and bullshit. More moving away from accountability and understanding into your excuses and justifications. The amount of times you've been here doesn't matter, and you lied. You've been here way more than 3 times. We've all been here with you. You guys are amazing. Sarah Talcott, that's your new name, Sarah Talcott. You, Slow State, Talcott, and all the rest of you are amazing at the shit that you say and lie willfully and willingly when we've all been here for like 300 days straight or more watching you and everyone else on here. Are you this retarded or are you this much of a liar? Because you've been here way more than 3 times. You've been here more than 3 times up on panel at one point talking to me. Who are you lying to and kidding? It's like over 6 months at this point. You guys will just say anything, huh? It's the world you live in. You'll just say anything, even though we all know it's ridiculous and completely the opposite. Anything to avoid accountability, responsibility, or just admitting you're a dunce. And then getting better and doing better. Fascinating. Go ahead, gentlemen. She totally doesn't want attention, right? Like, this is just me being a bully, like always. She's totally not in this to get attention everywhere and to seem powerful and knowledgeable.
My thing is has she ever been on the panel here? Maybe once, right? Once or maybe twice.
Yeah, well, now, like we have to catch them in lies before we get deeper into the truth, right? So now we go to, okay, I've been on your panel once, and it was the first time. That's not my memory. I smoke a lot of reefer, so maybe I'm missing something. Pretty sure you've been here at least 2 or 3 times. Pretty sure you've had interactions with me at least 2 to 3 times, at least on Slave Cot's panel, and then I can go another 2 to 3 like other places. So, and I have like multiple hours of you speaking about me, but never to me. Another theme that we see with all the people you hang around. So is it another coincidence that you're all exactly like each other, but don't see it that way and don't know why? And why you all have issues with me or catch shit from me when I have to comment on your nonsense regularly?
If it's going in a discomfort that you're avoiding, I mean, I assure you that even your perceived discomfort that you think you're going to experience will most likely only be to your benefit ultimately. So I would just say to click the link and not waste time being a chat secretary. I would know. I've done a lot of
right. And then it's always the passive aggressive bullshit, even from the jump. She comes in, her first thing is, I'm just here to listen. And she hasn't stopped typing yet. If you're just here to listen, that doesn't require a finger component. Go play with yourself, right? You want to listen to my voice? Go play with yourself while you listen to my voice. If you're just listening, it doesn't require you constantly typing and interacting with me up on panel or other chatters. Do you guys ever say what you really mean? And do you ever mean anything that isn't nonsensical?
To be able to listen, you have to be in a submissive state, though. So
right, but this goofy bitch wouldn't know what it's like to be in a submissive state with a real man. None of the broken hoes do. Submitting to a process and a procedure, if not the man. They wouldn't know what that's like, and that's why they're all alone. And that's why they're all casually dating online, but can never find anybody to complete them, in quotes. It's never going to happen, by the way. Why do you think they hang with Cynthia the pig and other women like that? It's all a reflection. It's all a mirror. It's all the same personality disorders over and over again. It's all the same results over and over again with the same discernment or lack thereof and the same rationale behind the results.
So
beyond fascinating, troubling, it starts to become when you realize like what you're literally living in and what's around you and what's going on.
I mean, people might see me as a new face here, but I've been around for a while. I don't know if you've noticed, Paul, but I've been around for a while. So I could read the room, to give it the benefit of the doubt. But like I said,
and I will generalize all women just like I will all men because we're all oneself. And I haven't seen anything at this point that isn't completely suggestible or predictable. right? Like there is no evidence to make me believe that women are all just different, individual, unique, special creatures. They're not. There's one race here, there's one self in consciousness, and there's like one bodily form on both sides that's complementary. So get over it. That's your ego bullshit. You're literally doing the generalized, predictable reaction of a woman who's like you. Don't generalize all women because I'm different and unique and special. You know how many times I've heard your bullshit before from the same type of woman? And I bet anything, if you get up here and I talk to you, we're going to get all the background, updated information on who and what you are and why you are where you are in life. Just like Lindsay and all the rest of them. It's beyond predictable and suggestible at this point. It's like I'm living in a movie. Just everywhere I look is another reflection of self doing the same games and nonsense and pretending I don't know me, therefore know them.
And it's not misogynistic to say that, you know, a woman needs to be under the care of a man in whatever stage of her life she's at. So, you know, all these women with, I'm a boss bitch, I can take care of myself. They're going to grow old and lonely, you know. They may have the money, they may have the little lapdog to entertain them or pleasure them, but it's not.
This is an interesting concept. Does anyone ever hear violence in tones? How does one hear violence when the root of violence is violation? Therefore, someone would have to be violated in order for violence to occur. How could you violate somebody by uttering tones and frequencies and words? Is it possible you project your trauma and your past violence onto every scenario, seeing it and hearing it and feeling it everywhere? Because it's a you problem? Is that possible? Possible some daddy or some man hurt you way back when, and ever since, if somebody talks in a certain tone, it's akin to violence to you? Possible you can't differentiate the difference between abuse, violence, and passion and true care? Possible why you beta females always wind up with beta males, the ones you feel safe with who can't keep you safe? Fascinating, isn't it? Only you weren't so easily manipulated, suggestible, and deceived to where people could run a train on you simply by tonality. Because the guy doesn't care about you or the truth. He's got no problem showing up looking all the right ways and using all the proper tonalities to get where he wants to go. A man of true care and true passion and true wisdom and empowerment, you will rebuke that being for the one you feel safe with. The only problem is your feelings aren't real, and you've been shown that over and over again. Still don't get it. Your feelings are a real indictment of your condition.
Indeed, the feelings should be reserved for their private life, their family or friends.
Let me stop her again. I got to stop you and then stop her. You don't even know what ad hominem means, just like Jack Talcott. It means toward the man. So how could I be doing an ad hominem toward a woman? First of all, I mean, I guess it could be interchangeable. But you think ad hominem inherently means a negative critique. There's inherently a negative connotation. So yes, I'm doing ad hominem in the sense of describing the man or woman's condition. It is not an attack on you.
Some people just don't understand harmony. You know, if you come in disharmoniously, you're gonna get some kind of negative response.
Well, frequencies and tones are very powerful, yes, and perception can be very disempowering. If you receive a tone or a frequency in a negative way that is not intended as such, then you may have a problem in life. You may constantly find yourself in resistance or in misunderstanding. So for many people here, get a clue. For many people here right now, the way I'm speaking is not a violent tone. It is inspiring and empowering. For those who are wounded, okay, and don't understand the difference between the true sacred masculine and the false light, they appear to have the experience of feeling violated, as if my tone indicates violence. It doesn't. So please stop projecting your wounded, traumatic past with men onto me, because every one of you women does not have functional relationships with a man who is worthy of being called a man. And if you want to have that conversation and have me prove it up here, get up here and let's get to it, because that's what I live for. To prove the concept. This is about the truth. This is not about what I or you want and don't want. This is about understanding who and what we are and how we got here and where we're going to go.
Can I make a response to that frequency of tones? That when you make a report, such as what we're getting here back, is something that induces suspicion, ought to arise from good and grave men, not indeed from malevolent and malicious men, but from for clamor, diminishes, and defamation manifests. So that's a maximum of law. But I think it applies here is what we see frequently from these characters, Paul. And I yield.
So you'd have to wonder why women would continue to yap and project onto and try to manipulate or call in with a desire, some outcome that wasn't authentic. You'd think that they would shut their yap and listen for an extended period of time about who and what a man is authentically from his perspective. If they tried maybe to understand a man authentically from his perspective, they might find themselves with one for a prolonged period of time, which they don't. They find themselves with a bunch of disempowered, falsely empowered, codependent, goofy, masculine bitches like them the majority of the time, right? So you might want to practice, like all you women are known for, supposedly being a good listener. They'll all tell me, you're not a good listener. I'm an impeccable listener, even better, intuitive reader. Okay? Because I can read the energy just like you can, sweetie. The problem is you can't read effectively if you're projecting onto, right? You get distorted. So become a better listener, right? Really become unconditionally loving and accepting. And try to understand a man from a man's perspective on a man's terms, not yours and the world's. You might be better off. You might be able to cultivate a long-term, if not forever, friendship, first and foremost, or bond, companionship with a man if you would shut up and listen and try to understand. But you don't. You're too busy trying to make men into what you believe they're supposed to be. And that has been the failing of this culture and society. Get a clue. You are the beast system incarnate. You are the Jezebel harlots who want to continue to question me, not from a perspective of wanting to learn and wanting to know and wanting to understand and reconcile, from a place of pretending you're going to be found out to be right and I'm going to be wrong. What are the odds of that going to be, you think? What are the odds of some goofy bitch on here in a chat box who hasn't ever done nothing and been nothing going to prove me to be wrong and her to be right consistently? I'm waiting.
Well, Paul, principles prove, they're not to be proven. And that's the problem, is that you're working from principles and they really have nothing to say to that.
Majority's women wouldn't even have shit, including internet service, if it wasn't for men or a man in their life that they've been living off of. Get real. Sorry, I spoke the quiet part out loud. It was politically incorrect. Go ahead, gentlemen, continue. We're going to wrap up soon anyway. Get to a couple more breaking news segments. Couple cops shooting citizen slaves. Why not? It's been a few days with that, right? These folks got a bloodlust. They want it up close and personal. They want to see what their lives become. Statute and policy code driven. Go ahead.
Call it what it is, Paul. You know, it's all there to induce fear and to create people from a lack of engagement and apathy, so they become harmless. You know, the fact is that when you empower people with knowledge that's actually, you know, useful to their lives or to their liberties, then it's dangerous, very dangerous to the democracy. So these kind of reports are good to keep the population harmless. Don't you agree?
Well, yeah, I mean, indirectly, I guess you could say it's working because you got a lot of simps and tricks who want to make special conditions for women versus men. See, I happen to think women are like exceptionally strong if given the proper understanding, maybe even more so strong in certain ways than men. I'm open to it, right? So I don't play favorites and I don't pull punches metaphorically, right? So I think that's for everybody's highest good. I don't know any man who's a real man, who's successful, who might have to put his whole life on the line, that then want to be able to trust a goofy bitch next to him, that she's a real one and can stand tall on any situation. Her truth and the truth. So yeah, I'm going to talk some real shit at you. Yeah, I'm going to question you. I'm not going to simp on you and trick on you. It's for your own best interest. I ain't abusive and I ain't violent. I could do nothing to you except talk, just like this. So if you could deal with that and you can go past a little bit of pressure and rise to the occasion and speak your truth and the truth and stand on a square and on a cause, you might be worthy of something. Don't tell me you're a queen if you can't conduct yourself like one. And if you can't answer to a king, then you definitely can't be a queen.
Part of
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Part of the, men have to be a little bit more accountable too, because it's men that
a lot more accountable. We don't play favorites here. Go ahead.
Yeah, so men are the ones that have, in some way, shape, or form, have trained these women to adopt that, because the men that they're mostly dealing with lack that masculine quality, so they have to adopt that masculine quality of restraint, of assertiveness, of things. When a woman is really not supposed to be having those kind of qualities, it kind of inverts everything. So I was one of those guys. Where I at first, everything, I was bending to the will of my whoever that I was head over heels for, and I had to learn, no, that's not how it goes. You have to be less simpish, and they eventually they get it. They realize, hey, this guy, he's not gonna take my shit. He's not gonna take nobody's shit. At some point, I have to respect that and understand where he's going in life. And if I want to be part of that, then I gotta add value to it. If not, he's just gonna look for someone else.
Right. When a man doesn't stand his position in truth, not in a domineering, controlling way, but in an authentic, honorable way and presentable way, means you got to have a good mouthpiece and conversation. If you don't do that, she's going to wind up disrespecting you, and she's going to go find a man who is going to do that, especially if she has any sense, and they'll tell you directly. And if you're not up on the game, you don't even know what that means as a man. Oh, I like a man who could put me in my place. What the fuck does that mean? You want me to beat on you or something? Nah, she's trying to communicate an idea. She's been with Simpson tricks before and beta males, and it don't do nothing for her. Not in the bedroom or out, right? So they're looking for a man who could stand his position and be honorable and presentable, whether it's pussy thrown in his face or not, and whatever the fuck else.
And a real man's not looking for pussy, really. He's actually shying away from that. He knows better. A real man is looking for a woman that has a lot more to offer than that. A woman.
An understanding, like we're all should be looking for. An understanding. Because pussy's attached to a being of understanding or not.
Mm-hmm. They have to, understand you're headed somewhere. If they don't see that and they can't, peep that game, then on to the next one. Someone will. Some girl out there will. And a man isn't supposed to be married to his woman. He's supposed to be married to his purpose. The woman is supposed to be married to him. All of the women that admire him should be married to him. And he should be, kicking game to these women, telling them how to get back to God conscious, to the source, to their purpose. And then that's how we all leave this reality gracefully, right?
You realize you're describing pimping before it was pimping, and I'm not talking about selling pussy. I'm talking about a community idea of certain men with inherent hierarchical and power systems who embody that and attain a certain status of the people, right? So the universe has already made the marriage, because the women, of course, if they have an understanding, are going to be attracted and want to run with that man. And it's not going to be limited to 1 or 10 or 1,000. We're already bonded and united in cause and an understanding of self. That is the universal marriage. All the rest of this shit is a lie. And that's proven by the fact, obviously, statistically, that 3/4 or half of all these marriages fail because you haven't achieved the truest bond and the truest marriage first. Universal law and understanding of self. You ain't got that, you ain't going nowhere. And I don't care if you got 1, 10, 100, 1,000. If you got the other one, you can go as far as you need to go with 1, 10, 100,000. That's the point. And stop fixating over sexuality either. It's a very small part of our experience. Small but necessary. For various reasons.
I had a whole stream the other night based on that. It was just about, sex and the real purpose behind it, and the pros and the cons, and it's.
Hey, there's a family broadcast, Emmanuel. We can't talk about those kind of streams here.
Okay, yeah. So
just kidding.
We can talk about whatever we want. He's being a dick.
You
got to put more inflection in your voice. Sarah didn't get that you were being sarcastic on that one.
Yeah, even I missed it. Shit. No, but
that's because he's completely monotone. He really does need more inflection.
No, but yeah, there's a purpose for sex, and it's not to arouse or to naturally, instinctively, that's what it does. But I think if we get too caught up in that side of sex life, then that's when the mistakes happen. We start having unwanted progeny, which adds
right,
to
but it's there for a reason, dude. That desire that can lead to suffering is also there to drop boundaries. If you can get in a mode of acceptance and understanding through that attraction, you can both see from the same vision. It's just like a drug. There's heightened moments in sexuality. I've done the simulations with women. When they're in a heightened state and they're in that mode, it's easier for them to drop boundaries and be authentically themselves. You can talk about anything, do whatever. Then when you get back to nice, kind, polite, regular, false personality version like Sarah, I'm not picking on her. I'm just saying we all do the same games. Well, don't you talk about her. Don't you look at that. Well, just 5 minutes ago, you said you want to eat her pussy with me. So what's up? Which one's the real you? Which one's the real authentic version of you, right? So they can't figure it out. Because, again, it's a little bit of this and that, right? We have a mammalian component. We have a spiritual component. As long as I'm not misusing this understanding and I'm not abusing anybody, and self is self, you want and or need all the same things I do. The question is, how are we going to get it and how are we going to understand it? Because we're supposed to be at odds and supposed to be oppositional.
100%, you have to be prepared to accept what comes with sex, and how to navigate through it, maturely, not only like materially mature, but like more importantly, spiritually mature, because you're bringing in another life that's gonna either add or take value from this existence. So
but that's the point, bro. When you see self as self, it's whether it's 1 or 100, it's the same process and program over and over again. Everybody's communicating, everybody's doing fellowship, everybody wants to feel good and make others feel good, and everybody wants to have an understanding, right? And a level of trust and safety. So what makes you think that we can't achieve that with 1 or 10 or however many, whatever's meant to be, if they're willing participants with the ability to discern?
I mean,
I contend you can have a more loving and deep and co-creative relationship with multiple partners than a lot of these folks have with just one quote unquote monogamous partner, because there's a need to go deeper there. You're going to have more authentic, challenging conversations. You're going to have to test the boundaries of your comfort zone. You're going to have to constantly try to achieve an understanding and co-create for the benefit of everybody involved. That's the point of the tribalism. That's the point of the true community, was to drop boundaries and get us all to see the same vision at the same time and shoot for the same goal and have the same pleasures as well. We don't have that anymore because we are fixated on completing ourselves through another being. He completes me. No, he doesn't. He's a reflection of all the things you haven't completed within yourself that have shown up in the outside realm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure deep down, like primordially, women are open to that concept, because if you could have 5 kids with however many other women, and she, just because you're so-called single at the time, she's going to start wanting to mess with you. she's still open to polygamy either way. She's still got to accept the fact that you have 5 other goofy women to deal with, 5 other kids to deal with, and she's still somehow in the sack with you. So why would she not be open to outright polygamy? You know,
right. The point is they've taught every woman to make their whole lifelong pursuit to get a man to deny his nature, which is supernaturally under creation sound the way it's supposed to be for a reason. This is why I say, all you women who think that you're pretending to do some kind of virtuous, righteous thing by getting your man to direct all of his time, energy, attention to you and making you feel loved, you are the deceiver. You are the disempowerment. That's not what we need right now. We need men extremely in touch with their supernatural primeval, if you will, primordial beingness. We don't need them denying their nature to please your bitch ass sensitive ego that can't cope with the idea that all mammals are created to love in a group. Get over it.
I mean, just look at that one tribe, the Maasai tribe. They had this white lady go over there and adopt their whole lifestyle. It's a lifestyle as old as time, you know. It's a tribal one. And it works. You know, to be honest, I don't think these men really want to have all those wives, but if they're heads of the community and they have money, it's almost like a responsibility to take on. You know, they have a due to society almost, you know, to.
But that's the point, bro. The sex is the smallest part of it. They think Pauly Boy is stuck in a fantasy of a harem. There's an aspect of fantasy there, because what is fantasy? It's all the things in our genetics that was meant for us that we have not lived. You could argue, right? So the reason why many folks have such a rich, fantastical life nowadays with video games and RPGs and porn is because they're not living that path of going to war, of standing on truth, of conquering, of walking a hero's journey, of being a king who has a queen and concubines. It's in our genetics from day one. It's who and what we've been. The history's all right there, and it hasn't changed in the modern day realm. All that's changed is the perspective on who and what we are. We haven't changed as a creature.
Yeah,
You're
people
right.
have
I
more of
mean,
a vicarious experience instead of a tangible one. They're no longer
Right. That's my new movement. All you goofy bitches, stop calling each other and yourselves queen unless you're willing to accept the role of a king. And the role of a king is not monogamous. So you either get with that or get out of my face with your nonsense. You all want it one way. Oh, she's a queen. You got to treat her like a queen. Okay, treat me like a king. Where's my concubines? Goofy. Because the queen's going to inherit the fucking kingdom and rule over if I die, potentially choose the next man who's going to be in that position. And then there's other roles like procreation and whatever have you. Right. So a kingdom doesn't revolve around the goofy queen's ego and what the fuck she wants and desires. I got news for you. It revolves around a man's purpose and nature and him directing that for himself and the kingdom and the people and what's true and what's right.
Right. You know, if a queen's worried about, oh, if he's got to marry the queen of or the daughter of the king of France now, because that would just tear down the whole kingdom altogether. We need to make peace. And if the peace is by marrying some other goofy broad, then this is how we're going to do it. You okay with that, Elizabeth? Because if not, our kingdom is going to fall. So, you know, and then she's got to understand that, you know, she's got to understand, hey, my husband has a couple wives and, you know, our kingdom has spread, our power has spread, and I'm okay with that. But
right, but that would be a woman who actually wants to see a man completely happy, peaceful, empowered, living his nature. Most of these angry, resentful, bitter bitches want to take that, not support you in getting that. Yeah. They think it's some kind of a badge of honor to go out with their goofy friends and say, yeah, I got him. Look, got me a doctor, got him rebuking his nature, got him lying to himself and me and everyone else forever. And look at the ring too. Mm-hmm. Right. That's become their purpose. To divide us from ourselves and therefore them ultimately by seeking to please them and make them feel loved. Only you could do that. It's called self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, and self-love. I can't do that for you. And if I try to, I'm going to miss out on giving myself all of what I need to give it to you. And it ain't ever going to be enough. And you ain't ever going to respect me for it long term.
I've given them the same rap. I said, listen, I'm not, if this is what you're expecting, all of that all that stuff you just lifted off, you have options. There's a door there and there's another door over there. I'm not the one, you know, I'm focused on me. So, but luckily, you know, life puts the right people in your life that you need to have around, and if you can acknowledge that, if you can see that and you could value that, then you move forward with it. If not, I don't see any value in appeasing a woman's ego or how she believes she needs. No, I'm gonna do me.
Well, because most of these women really are less romantic than the men, because the men actually love them and care for them on some level. Women just want to be venerated, want to be the god of the relationship. They want to be worshipped. So they're more egoic than a lot of the men are.
Well, that's why the Vedas say,
a man will get up every fucking day and go to work and bust his balls for 20 years just to provide for that goofy bitch and the children. And then she will say, you didn't spend enough time with me, so I'm going to go fuck this guy tonight. Don't tell me about how women are the ones about love and light and romanticism and all the rest of it. Bullshit. As soon as they don't get what they want and their ego is not placated, they're up and out, or they're on to the next one.
Yeah, if you don't recognize,
you know why? Because men grow up in a world on rejection. Our whole world is rejection. We're used to it. Women don't live that. They don't know what it's like to live in a world of constant rejection and have to do and be and get to have.
It's almost like and the Vedas say women are the embodiment of illusion, so it makes sense that, they're going to be naturally in this illusion state. The only one that'll be able to take them out of that illusion state is a proper man. And a man that can look past that illusion, that says, she's, past the nice butt and the nice tits, she's just a bag of excrement and vomit, just like everyone else. I can't get too enamored with that. I got to stay on my purpose,
Well, I think you get back to the foundational things when there's a lot less population, and you just look mathematically, there's more women than men in the world. So mathematically, there has to be some accounting for those women there, right?
So and there's more cowardly men than there are brave men, so them numbers are dwindling on who's meant to be together.
I was just about to say that,
it was a longer run, and this is a new experience for humanity, so to speak, to have this type of thing. So, the monogamy would almost be a luxury back in those days. It's like, I only have one to take care of. Whereas opposed to the rest of your peers would have to deal with several wives just because it's the nature of how things are. And let's face it, it helps out. They work with each other. They help you, you help them. And then you all procreate, and it continues to work and expand, and other tribes meet and interact, etc. So that's where we came from. How we got here is civilization. And how we now deal with that is the fact that I feel it's almost too late. We have to deal with it at this point. So how are we going to deal with it best? How are we going to make it work for us? That's why I was getting back to the new world was like the last frontier to go and do an experiment of liberty and freedom. So we're watching that just be dismantled in front of us when it was probably the best bet ever of enshrining it for posterity, for the future generations, right? And that's us. So
well, now that you're on that note, I like to add to that. If we do not wake up at some point and say, listen, we got to start, like Yuri Bezmenov says, start with the new and out with the old. The old doesn't work anymore. It hasn't been working for us. We need to teach the new generation of the right way, because it's like you said, we're stuck with what we're stuck with, so until people start waking up and saying, listen, we don't need what this world has to offer us anymore. We got to do what we have to do for ourselves, for our children, for our legacy, because there is no legacy in America anymore. It's kind of just, it's all bereftness. It's all, it's all going to squander.
Well, we have a legacy of 250 years of common law here, that we're supposed to be defending and utilizing. And if we're just going to squander it away to this and that private organizations, then we're going to lose all that was fought for before us, whether you like
but that doesn't go away.
Or not.
That doesn't go away. That's still there. It's the people that aren't living that are squandering. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. We have to go back to that ideology. It's not that it's completely lost. It's still there. It's dormant some way, somehow, but people need to stop, it's a process. It's not going to take.
It's critical mass stupidity, there's really a balance that's tipped to the wrong side at this point. So you're going against the current of stupidity. It's only getting worse, and it's a trend. So first you got to change that trend, and then you can change the direction of flow. But at this point, that's where it's headed to. So understanding that to start with is where best to apply yourself or apply what you can do to at least get the best results for yourself, the people around you nearest, and then hopefully be able to propagate that to others by your success.
All right, give me the final word, man. We're coming up on the 3rd hour mark here. I got shit to do with her. I got to have a conversation with her about what's going on here.
That was my final word. I got the cue, Paul, from the silence, the silent cue. At that, salute, Emmanuel. Great having a conversation with you too, Paul. Thanks for the invite. It's always great having an enlightening conversation here. And Pineal, the man of very few words. Good having you here too. Salute to you all, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Right. How many times do we have to explain to these folks that Trump is an illusion? It's a character. It's a puppet. It's not real. He's not going to do anything for you. He can't do anything for you because you're probably a bitch ass slaved up coward who follows statute, policy, and code and not God's law. What could he do for you other than tell you some shit that sounds good and continue to do what's always been done? Final words, please, gentlemen. They're never going to get it. It seems they don't want to get it is really what it is. They could if they wanted to. They don't want to.
No matter how much facts you present them. I'm gonna leave with much love, and I'm gonna go get some grub. Deuces.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you knew I was a snake when you let me in. Hopefully you didn't let me in with the pokey poke, but if you did.
He stands up for Christians. PinealPower. Did you know that? Did you know Trump stands up for Christians?
Right.
Could you be any more moronic and shallow in your conceptualization?
Yeah, the Scottish Rite usually do stand up.
Right. Right. No, he tells you he stands up for Christians. He's not a Christian in any sense of the word. He doesn't live like the Christed being. He's literally on the opposing side. He's Barabbas. So get a clue, please. Any day now. Get a fucking clue.
I'm sure Norman.
Final words, please.
Norman Vincent Peale was a Christian too, I'm sure.
Right. So is Kissinger. Kissinger's a good Christian. He stands up for the Christians.
Indeed. Appreciate you. Have a good one, everyone. Get some sustenance. And peace. Be well. Take care.
Thank you, sir. I'm throwing you out. All right, everybody. Coming at ya. PinealPower. All right, I'm out of here, folks. Go have an authentic conversation today with somebody if necessary. Okay? Stop lying to yourself and everybody else. Take some feedback. Take some suggestions if it's from somebody who you trust and respect when it comes to their discernment, right? Really look at yourself. Observe yourself, your thoughts, emotions, actions, your patterns, your habits, your results, and get to the root of who and what you are, what you've been, and what you need to be. That's my advice, not advice, because I don't give any, right? I definitely don't charge for any. I just tell you who and what I am, what I have done, what I am doing, and what I'm going to do and be. And, I might even show you, which is even better, right? All right. I don't know what else to say. Is G down there? G likes to mazel it out. Like he's on a fucking mazel tear lately. Just, over and over and over again. Mazel from out west. G, do we need a love bomb here? Are we in need of that? You folks need that? I think you guys need that. You seem really weak and pathetic and needy. So I'm going to give you that. The Freak, much love, much love. Bear Jew, much love, much love. Mimi, much love, much love. Jeeps, much love, much love. Jesus, you're corny, much love, much love. Jennifer, much love, much love. Jennifer, are you going to give much love twice to everybody? Are you going to give much loves to everybody? Much love, Jennifer says. Okay. That's nice. Right? That's nice of her. She didn't have to do that. All right, seriously, get the hell out of here. I'm done with you people. Outro for the win. If you could take religion and a spiritual process and make somebody activate a part of themselves that they didn't know was there, you got something there. And I think that's all of what we're doing in all ways, is trying to reunite and reactivate those parts of ourselves that we've had cut off or we've had dormant to try to survive in this sick and twisted dynamic. This spiritual practice, right? Certain things like I do here, just meeting with people daily, talking it out, doing a simulation, right? Imagining certain things.
maybe a form of meditation, you could argue, will reform the perspective, will reform the way we think and feel and how we act and live, if there's truth there that resonates. So that's the modality I prefer, because I think anything else is kind of a shortcut, and really it's just a tool meant for extremes that, you know, even then you still have to come back to your life and learn how to live it. It might just be that everybody should have some experience in their life that takes them out of themselves and it forces them to surrender over to something so they can learn the art of surrender in certain situations. You know, how do we learn to really live and thrive again? Cool to have structure, habit, procedure, process, responsibility, accountability that lead to success. How are we going to love again? How are we going to live again? How are we going to thrive and co-create, have community? Right? So I see both aspects in self, and I see a lot of those same aspects in others that come forth in these spaces. But again, it's a slippery slope in a world of religious dogmatics, when the other side of that is actual nihilist, infidel, worldly scum who really want a whole population on drugs. Right? It's a slippery slope, because one side's going to call you the devil, the other side's going to say, yeah, let's do that, so they can take drugs all day, every day, and claim it to be the all. I can't, that's why I can't support it and promote it, because I know what it will turn into.